Yo. Something is wrong. Something is wrong.
Well, this is a very complicated issue because the world, you see, is a very it's like a multi-layered place where, well, practically, I could argue that, okay, I can change my eating habits to so that the farmers cannot sell their products to anybody because nobody is willing to buy the meat, right? And we can enact change this way. Or I could also make the argument that I should actively look to save these animals, not by changing my eating habits, but by literally, fighting the farmers who are producing these animals, right? I could make that argument as well.
We have to understand that the only reason that the farms produce those products is because people pay for those products. So you actually have to deal with the consumers by themselves. And the way you deal with consumers, you don't want to fight them. You just want to tell them, hey, if you're gonna buy these products, you might as well know what you're paying into. You need to know what you're doing. And I'm just saying, like, even me as a vegan, I can do both. I can like talk to consumers and be vegan at the same time. You don't have to choose. You can just be both. It's not that difficult.
But there will always be people who will decide to eat animals, right? And who will decide to farm them.
Yeah, but it's always about you and what kind of a person you want to be. If there's gonna be there's always gonna be racists, right? Left, right, and center. But I don't have to be racist. Just because someone is going to be, it's not who I want to be.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even think that's a claim we can make. We don't know what's going to be in the future. There are practices from the past that we don't do anymore. We don't, generally speaking, split people apart, right? Like torture, split people, like to put people on one, like tie their hands on one place, like to one cart and tie their legs to the other cart and just pull. We don't do that anymore.
Well, now we split people with bombs, right?
Yeah, we do other stuff, but you can't say, well, we will always eat meat. Well, you don't know that. You are not from the future. We don't have the, like... Yeah.
This is not even relevant, because if people, and if meat production continues, I personally would not pay for it. Even if there's going to be more of it, I know it's bad for the individuals. I don't want to be responsible to pay for something that I know it's inherently bad.
Okay. But let's say hypothetically that there is like a whole country of people who decide to farm animals, right? And this gives them access to food which is, now you can argue this, but just for the sake of argument, let's say that this allows them to produce food at a cheaper rate and more nutritious food, which allows them to have more kids who will then be in better shape than the vegan kids, and this will allow their country to become very powerful, and build a powerful military, and then this military can be used to take over the countries of the vegans, right?
Oh no, it's a weird hypothetical.
Well, I can answer this hypothetical. So first of all, I don't believe that it matters. So what you're saying essentially is that do the ends justify the means, right? So can we do horrific things right now because we might get a better outcome in the future? Well, no, we shouldn't. We shouldn't do that regardless, should we?
Yeah, I believe we shouldn't, but some people will. And if this gives them a natural advantage, right? If it gives them more nutrition and if it makes them stronger, then they can just invade the other countries and force.
Yeah, okay, but So in your hypothetical scenario is that if people consume animal products, they will become stronger and thus have a advantage over people who don't consume animal products. Is that really what's keeping you from stopping the animal exploitation that you're supporting? Because
no. I do not support animal exploitation, by the way. I eat very little animal products, very rarely.
So you support the animal exploitation.
So yeah, the point is like we understand that you may support it a little bit, tiny bit, but whenever you do support it, you still want someone to be dead with your money.
Yeah, you still support it. Supporting a little bit is still supporting exploitation, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. And you could get to zero, right?
But we understand.
The point I would like to elaborate a little bit. So, in the past, for an example, I think scientists found that the reason why human beings' brains became larger and the reason why our bodies became stronger is because we started cooking the meat, right, which gave us a lot of nutrients. So we can say that like eating meat is incredibly efficient, right? It's just from like a natural perspective. This doesn't mean that we should do it, but what I'm telling you is that what if some people decide to do it and thus become more powerful than the other people and then go and conquer the vegans, right?
But that's not the case, is it? So the reason why in the past we, as you so well put it, and the reason why in the past our brains grew is because we can get a lot of nutrition from consuming maybe sometimes animal products and sometimes other products. But in the past, the situation when humans discovered fire, the situation was that they could barely get enough macronutrients, enough calories in to survive. So that was the issue in the past. Nowadays, that's not the issue. You can get plenty of calories nowadays. Nowadays, the issue is more like getting the right macronutrients, getting less calories because most people actually overeat. So nowadays, I would argue that you might have an advantage by being plant-based with your diet. You might have an advantage over everybody else because you might have less of a risk of colon cancer, less of a risk of heart disease. So yeah, there's just two different situations. Of course, in a situation where you're mostly starving, consuming nutrient-rich, not nutrients, but energy-dense foods, like animal products are energy-dense foods, would give you an advantage. But in a situation where you're not starving, where you have plenty of energy-dense foods, which we do nowadays, then you need to look out for the micronutrient-dense foods, and those are usually plant-based foods.
Okay. If you will take a good exercise, you cannot be evil.
What was the claim? Sorry, Sophia?
If you will take a good diet, you cannot be evil. You have to control yourself, and you should take workout.
Yeah, workout is definitely part of a healthy lifestyle, of course. But what we're saying here is, well, of course, being vegan is not a diet, by the way. Being vegan is a moral position of respecting animals, essentially. Obviously, as a consequence, you're going to be maintaining a diet because you're not going to be eating them or eating their secretions. So what we're saying is that you can have a perfectly healthy lifestyle, and the part of the lifestyle that is usually impacted with this is your diet, and you can have a perfectly healthy diet by not consuming animal products, by consuming only plant-based products.
Yes, you are right.
Awesome. Are you vegan, Sophia?
Regarding, I would like to say, regarding the topic of abusing animals and using animals for our own benefit, we can say that the reason we can use animals for our own benefit is because we are more intelligent than the animals, right?
Oh.
We can lure them into a cage, we can force them to reproduce, and we can then eat their bodies, okay?
I'm going to ask you a fun question, right? Do you think intelligence is a factor on who we should harm?
No, but I will.
Aha!
No, what? No.
If an animal had common sense, so it has rights to put you inside a cage, right?
Let him talk.
Can I continue with my example? Okay, so we are more intelligent than them, right? That's the reason why we can kill them. That's a scientific fact. That's the reason why we can
but the
catch
question
them in
is, should
cages.
we? The question.
Yeah, we shouldn't.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We shouldn't. But I will now compare it to something amongst human beings. So, okay, we are more intelligent than them, so we can put them in cages and we can do whatever we want with them.
I wouldn't even say that it's correct that like intelligence is the prerequisite of whatever.
It's not correct. I'm not saying it's morally correct. It's like scientifically. Like
No, I wouldn't even say that. I mean, yeah, people like do it through like technologies and shit, but like other animals, like a mosquito, I wouldn't say they're more intelligent than a human, and a mosquito can kill a human.
Yeah, no, but you know, with particular animals like pigs and cows, it is the case that the reason we can catch them is because we are more intelligent than them.
It's because they are incredibly trusting and like docile. It's because they're very sweet animals, generally speaking.
They are less intelligent. You could say.
Yeah, but that's not the reason why. A cow can kill a farmer. It happens a lot, right? So a cow is stronger. They just also happen to be very sweet animals.
Not really. A human being with a spear.
What do you mean not really? Cows kill farmers all the time. It's a #1 death on dairy farms.
I understand, but I will now continue with my point. Okay, so.
Yeah, but like when you're making a point that is not, you just saying it. You said it's scientifically proven. Can you please provide evidence for it? Because otherwise it's just like a hypothesis.
You can go into the forest, you can take a carrot, you can tangle it in front of a pig, and you can use it to lure it into a fence.
Yeah, but you made a very specific claim. You made a very specific claim. You made the claim that we can kill these animals because we are more intelligent than them.
No.
And I'm providing a different hypothesis. I'm providing the hypothesis.
Morally, I believe it's incorrect.
I'm not talking about morally. I'm talking about you made the claim that physiologically or whatever, because we are more intelligent, we are able to kill them. And I'm providing a different hypothesis. So now you have to provide evidence for your claim.
Can we stick with the morals for now? Because we can discuss all of these.
Yeah, but when people, it really bugs me when people like very, very staunchly say something and they can't back it up.
Okay.
So please be careful.
Change the wording of my argument. I will change the wording of my argument. For whatever reason it might be, whether it be intelligent, whether it be due to the animals being loving and trusting and docile, as you said, for whatever reason, we human beings, the species of human beings, are able to take the species of animals and we are able to farm them. We are able to eat their bodies.
Sorry, what point are you trying to make? Can you please get to the point?
Okay, I will now get to my point.
Thank you.
Okay. So, what we notice is that there is a power imbalance, right? We are more powerful than these animals. We get to abuse them, okay?
Sure.
But there are also power imbalances amongst human beings. For an example, one human being might be very tall, and thus he can become a basketballer. He can earn a bunch of money, right? And he can use this money to buy a bunch of good things, while someone who is born with a genetic defect has to starve on the street. Similarly, we can say, for an example, that if
can you get to your point, please?
If you are more intelligent than somebody, right? Then and you work harder than them, right? You have the genetics to work harder, as the scientists would say, right? The hard work genetics. Then you are able to live a very comfortable life, while the people who are less intelligent, who are, less capable of working, will have to live lives that are horrible, that are filled with suffering. They cannot get healthcare. They cannot get, they cannot buy food.
Can you get to your point, please?
Yeah. What are you trying to say? Is that they have an advantage? What exactly is your point? Like you've been making this whole story for a while.
There is a power imbalance between human beings and animals, and there is also power imbalances between one human being and another human being.
And therefore,
yes.
Please make the point.
So the point of the argument is that if you are saying that I shouldn't abuse my power imbalance with the animals, right? I shouldn't use the power imbalance I have, compared to the animals, to abuse them and eat their bodies, then you can also say that human beings, we shouldn't use our power imbalances towards other human beings.
Yes.
Yeah, we shouldn't.
Yes.
Yes. So
Jesus,
why,
it took us
no.
ages to get there, but we all agree on it. So let's move on to something else.
So
Wow.
why? No. So why are we always in our lives? Why are we walking past homeless people on the street and not helping
Wait,
them?
Maybe you're doing it.
Why are we
I
living
volunteer
in these
once.
Western societies while people in
Sorry.
Africa are starving.
Excuse me, I volunteer once a week to feed the homeless. So, no, we are not all doing this. Even the people who walk
Well,
past the homeless people on the street, you can't assume they are not helping the homeless in other ways. Also, just because something happens doesn't mean that it's moral, right? And like it varies
never
greatly.
said-
So
never
where
thought about
I live, people who are incredibly disabled are not going to be starving on the streets. They're going to be taken care of. And
but,
that's the right thing to do.
Okay.
So what's the problem? What's the claim?
The problem is that
Yeah.
there are power imbalances
Yeah,
amongst
and the
human
right
beings.
thing to do is alleviate those imbalances and to balance them.
Yes,
And
but we-
Also-
generally, societally, that's what we are trying to do. Generally, societally.
no,
And also, if I may
wouldn't
add,
agree with that at all.
1 second, if I may add, you're confusing two different things over here, because something that you're doing is not creating homeless people, is it? What we're saying is that something that you're doing, you're using your power imbalance over animals and you are creating victims out of them. If you consider homeless people as victims, then I assume you wouldn't do something to create more homeless people. What you're saying is that the homeless people that already exist, you're not trying to help them out. But you see, there's a difference there, because for animals, you make victims. For humans, you don't.
Yeah, but I could say also that let's say I want to buy a certain house, and because I am intelligent and I am hardworking, let's say I have earned enough money to buy the house. Another guy wants to buy the house, but because he wasn't born with such a great brain and with such great genetics to work as hard as me, he cannot buy the house. And this causes him very big suffering.
As someone
Maybe
who's
his wife-
intelligent, is that
maybe-
your fault?
maybe his
Hold
wife
on.
even
Is
needs
someone
it.
who's intelligent? You made your point like 10,000 times already. Is someone who's more intelligent and be able to buy the house, are you the one taking the house away from the non-intelligent person? Are you responsible for it?
You could say yes.
How? Please draw the line there between those two actions. Or those two,
There is very clearly a comparison
Yeah,
here,
if it's very clear, then fucking show it.
Well, you both want it, right?
Yeah, I'm asking
No.
how you
No.
wanting and being able to get a house impedes on the rights of another person wanting and not being able to buy a house. How you buying a house makes it so that the other person can't buy a house. Please draw a line there. How
Well,
are
it's
you
not-
responsible for the other person not being able to buy a house?
It is okay. I will give you a more extreme example. So there is the poor guy who
More
gets drafted into
examples.
the military and gets sent to die in the military, while I get to live, right? That's
How the
like-
fuck are you responsible for that?
Yeah, I just fail to understand, because you're putting all these examples where you're like, yeah, look, I'm being a little bit unfair towards this individual. Yeah, look, a little bit unfair towards this individual. But you're failing to miss the point. The question is, can you choose to be fair or unfair to somebody? Because that's the situation you're in, right? That's what being vegan literally means. If you have the option to not, let me finish. If you have the option to not oppress innocent individuals, why would you ever choose to oppress innocent individuals?
I am telling you that the world is so rotten and the world is so broken that
No. The world is not rotten and broken. You make it rotten and broken by choosing to oppress. The world is not rotten on its own. People have responsibilities for the actions that they're doing. If you are committing oppression towards innocent sentient beings just because you have power over them, that means you are making the world rotten or broken, as you claim to have a problem with.
So in that case, once again, I will come back to the military example. There is
Oh,
a poor
Jesus
guy
Christ.
who gets drafted into the military, sent to die,
Wait.
while I get to live because I am rich. How
Wait.
is this not how is this not incredibly unfair? The reason why I get to live is because there is a power imbalance. I have more power.
Dexter, is
You
this
see?
your fault?
Excuse me?
Is this your fault that the person has to be drafted to the military and you don't? Is this your fault?
You could say yes.
How?
I am a
How?
part of the country.
But do you get to like control what the country does? As one individual, do you get to control what the whole government does?
And even in that situation, by the way, you can still vote, right? You can vote by saying, well, this party that I'm voting for is pro-war. If you're voting for a party that is pro-war, then you are partly responsible for the war. But if you're not, then you do your action. You use your responsibility in the best way that you can.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
It
Use
gets
your
worse than that, though.
responsibility.
It gets worse than
Say
that,
that again.
though. Like nothing, as a rich person, nothing precludes you from joining the military. You can go join the military now.
For sure.
No, but I want to not join the military.
Awesome.
But I can dodge the draft due to my money. But the poor guy, he wants to not go and get bombed to death, but he does not have the option to not go because there is a power.
And how are you
imbalance.
responsible for that?
How am I responsible for that? Well, because I am a part of the world. I am a human being.
Yes, how are you
And-
responsible for that? Please draw the
How-
direct line, please. Direct line between you and the poor guy who joined the military because he wasn't rich
okay.
enough to avoid a draft.
Okay, I have to calculate here to kind
No,
of
just draw the
find a
fucking
direct
line. Just say, how are you responsible for that guy being drafted?
If you're saying that someone has to go to war, has to fight for a country, and you're saying you're responsible for it as one person, like how? If I tell you that right now there's a homeless person on the street and I'm responsible for it by just living, I want to know how, right? But that's not like those are not my actions,
no,
unless
but
I directly impact them.
Earlier, we agreed on the fact that we should look to eliminate homelessness. We should look to eliminate starvation. We
Sure.
should look, so we understand that there are power imbalances in the world. That
Sure.
we
But
want
listen,
to eliminate.
But you gotta understand this difference. We're not telling you to go fight for the animals. It would be amazing if you did that. We're telling you to do the bare minimum and not put animals in a position where you abuse your power over them. Do not exploit animals. That's what
Yes.
we're saying. We're not
Yes,
telling
but-
you
but I am
animals
saying-
are already exploited. We're not saying fight for those animals, although that would be amazing. What we're saying is stop exploiting animals yourself.
Yeah, stop creating victims. Let's move on to another conversation because this one I think ran its course.
I'm saying that you should also stop victimizing other human beings and abusing your own inherent.
Yeah, well,
genetic
sweetie,
advantages.
but you can't draw the
Over
line
other
between
people.
you as a rich person and the poor person who gets drafted. You can't actually make the logical inference that you caused that person to be drafted. So let's move on to another conversation. I think we wasted a lot of time on this one.
It is there. The inference is there. Yes, I cannot.
Yeah, you
currently-
cannot say it, so
you're
we can't
putting me on the
address
spot.
it. So let's move on.
I cannot find the exact analogy, but
Yeah,
my point.
you
stands-
can't
my point
say it,
stands that
so
there are-
let's move
There are
on.
power imbalances amongst human
Yeah,
beings.
you
that we
can't draw
use
the direct
to
line.
abuse other
Dude,
humans.
come on.
Wait,
You
hold on,
can't
hold
draw
on,
the
hold on,
direct
hold on.
line, so let's move on.
Dexter,
There is a
I'll
direct
make-
line, though. You have to admit it.
Wait,
You
wait,
can't
wait.
draw it, so we can't address it. So let's move on.
Hold on, 1 second. I'll make it super easy. Dexter, do you pay for people to be homeless?
Do I pay for people to be homeless?
Yes.
I do not pay for people to be homeless, but
There
as,
you
as
go.
I said to you, it is
So,
the reason why
wait.
they are homeless is because they have less power than me, right?
okay, but
I have
hold
more
on,
power,
hold
and
on.
thus they
Hold-
want to have a home, but they
Hold on.
cannot have a home because they have less
Dexter?
power.
Dexter, if you don't pay for people to be homeless, do you pay for animals to die in a slaughterhouse?
Let me calculate for a moment. Let me calculate.
Jesus, just say yes. You said yes before. This is like a redundant question.
No, I do not
Yeah.
consume. I consume free-range eggs from the farmers around me.
Okay.
I do not
So
consume
do
meat, by the way.
you know what happens to free-range chickens?
I'm not entirely sure, but
Oh, that's fine. Okay, any vegan wants to talk about the free-range chickens? Or
Sure.
I can.
Yeah, go on, Chip.
Do you? So I actually was on a biological farm, which is higher in quality theoretically than free range. They say they treat their animals better. This is a little bit of a story. I'll just make it quick so that you understand exactly what the problem is. I was there with an organization that pays farmers. You know, when egg-laying hens, they can no longer lay like an egg per day. They usually send them to a slaughterhouse. They don't really care about them. They just send them to a slaughterhouse because they can no longer give what they want to give, right? So this organization gives the farmers money, then they take the chickens, and then the chickens go to a rescue. So we were there on that farm, and we paid the farmer, and when he gave us the 2 chickens that we paid for, so that we can take these chickens and finally be free and no longer be exploited, he was holding them by their legs, and he broke their legs. Like 2 innocent chickens that were just about to reach their freedom. He could have easily given them and be nice to them. But you see, that's the problem in any type of farming. Outside of, we can discuss some of the practices and you probably won't agree with them. But outside of that, you see that's an inherent issue in farming. Farmers see animals as products. They see them as, here, I gotta use them for this. When I can no longer use them, I just throw them away. They treat them like objects. Is that really something that you like, paying somebody to treat animals like objects?
no, and I also don't like people paying their tax money towards the military, which treats human beings like objects that can be blown up by drones.
Okay. So now, but you see, now you have 2 choices, right? You can choose to no longer pay animals to be treated like objects. So why ever choose for animals to be treated like objects?
I can also choose to not support the military with my money.
Hey, okay, but you for animals you don't do that, do you? For animals, you're put in situations, as you say, that sometimes you pay for animals to be treated like objects.
Okay, but does your money go towards the military? Your
Jesus
taxpayer
Christ,
money?
man! Can you just focus on this? You seem to be so focused.
Because we agree to the point now that.
Listen, I'll
paying
give
to
you
help,
an expression.
I am paying to support the suffering of animals, but you are paying your taxpayer money to support the military, which is used to kill other human beings. So,
I am paying my taxes. I cannot live in this society without paying my taxes. If I don't pay my taxes, I go to jail. In order for me to be free, I have to pay my taxes. Do you understand that?
Okay, so how
are you
not
killing someone just to protect ourselves?
No, I do not have a choice in the matter. You have a choice between exploiting and slaughtering innocent animals or not.
No, but,
do you understand
but you do have a choice. You do have a way to fight against the military to make sure.
How?
I go to protest.
Give us an example. How? Yeah, go on. Give us an example. How? How are you gonna fight against that? As the rich person who wasn't drafted.
That's
how?
a very difficult question. How is a very difficult question, right? But the
so
point
that's
is
the crux of. Hold on. So that's the actual question we're trying to address here. In one case, in case of animals, you can do something, and it's a very easy something to do. You just stop paying to the industries that exploit and slaughter the most amount of animals, or any animals actually, right? And in case of like, if you also on top of that want to do some radical shit to like fight against militaries, all power to you, I'll support you.
I think that's what we should be doing. I think that's
if you can, go for it. I haven't heard any examples of how you can do that without like impinging on your own freedom, right? But if you can, go for it. That's when it becomes morally obligatory, when you can do something without impinging on your own life and liberty.
Without impeding on your own life and liberty.
Yeah, if you're not gonna go to jail if you stop paying to the industries that exploit and slaughter animals.
Would you go to jail if you could save animals?
Well, we're not asking you to do that. We're just asking you to take the personal responsibility and stop paying for it.
No, but there's a hypothetical.
If you want to choose to, you lose your fucking liberty to save animals. That's your choice.
Oh, but if you were presented with an option, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
That's
Can we
not
move on?
duty. Yeah, it's
Hypothetical.
Hold on,
I'll
let
answer
me
your
respond.
hypothetical.
Okay,
I
let me
don't.
respond.
I would not go to jail for any animal. Okay, I would not go to jail for any human. I would not go to jail for a human, an animal, or anything. I would try to do my best in a way where I maintain my liberty and try to fight for their right. Okay. And going to jail, by the way, doesn't necessarily mean, well, I'll just go to jail a little bit. This hypothetical makes no sense, and it doesn't prove anything. Because at the end of the day, going to jail, what if would I go to jail for a day to save 1,000 animals? For sure. Would I go to jail a year? I don't know. Would I go to jail 10 years? No. So you see, it doesn't. There's definitely a grade there. But you just keep bringing all these ridiculous arguments because essentially, do you understand that from your perspective, there's only two choices. You can choose to exploit animals or choose to not exploit animals. You will not get in trouble in any way if you choose to not exploit animals. So our question and our whole point of being here is trying to ask you, do you have any logical reason for choosing to exploit animals when you claim to be against animal exploitation?
You are true, and I will stop exploiting animals. I will stop eating animal products.
Awesome. Let's move on.
Thank you.
Perfect.
And now I will,
Really?
No. But now I will move on with my argument.
Yeah, no. This is a rule for vegans.
No,
We're going to talk about veganism here.
I want to present the hypothetical point because I believe it is a good point.
I think you burnt enough fucking air with this conversation.
Guys, as a moderator, I just quickly have to address something. We can definitely talk about all of these human rights issues or whatever you guys want to talk about when nobody wants to talk about veganism, right? This room is specifically designed just to have a vegan conversations. If it gets to a point where everyone's quiet, you can talk about whatever you want.
But regarding the point of moral obligation, I would
Jesus
like to I would no. I
just
would like
make a quick point. We will see if it's worth talking about it or not.
Okay. So the point here is this. Okay, I said, would you go to jail to save 1,000 cows and use it for one day? Okay, for 1 year. Okay, maybe not, because you don't want to impede on your own liberty. Now, regarding the moral question, let's say you are walking on the street and you see a helpless woman being attacked by a man. Would you be obligated to go and help that woman, to put your own life at risk to help them?
Not in all instances. Not in all instances. So the way I see it is that negative duties are much stronger, in my view, than positive duty. So when I'm saying positive duty, or like positive rights, I'm essentially referring to something that you owe to someone. You're doing something for someone, right? And in the case of health, go ahead.
Just real quick, it all depends on who you talk to. So we can address this sometime later. You can
but obviously,
you can have one person say yes, while the other person say no. Just doesn't.
My God.
Yeah, but in general, I would say that not doing something, for instance, not harming someone, is much easier to do than trying to help someone, especially if it comes with a lot of risk, right? So it is much easier. Yeah. It's much easier for me to tell you, don't punch me in the face, than to tell me, benefit me by helping me if I'm drowning. So it might well be the case that sometimes you might be obligated to help me if it doesn't cost you a lot of discomfort, but not all the times and not for everyone, actually. So it has its limits as well.
But let's go back to veganism. This is not relevant.
Yeah, this is, but okay, not to make this too long, but why did you pose this hypothetical? Can you bring it yourself to veganism? How is this hypothetical related to it?
The reason I brought up this hypothetical is because earlier someone brought up the point that you should help animals as long as it doesn't impede on your own.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, you know what the difference is between a moral obligation and a moral virtue?
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
do you know the difference? It's a yes or no question.
I do not care.
Oh,
That's my
awesome.
opinion.
Let's move on then. Let's move on. Somebody who doesn't care. Let's move on.
But can I please talk about like
No,
analysis?
you don't
So I will-
care about learning new things. Thank you for going
No.
vegan. Let's move on to somebody else.
No, I will analyze the conversation. Can I just give you like
No,
ending statement
I asked
to
you a
analyze
very
the
simple question and you refused to answer
guys.
it. No.
This is not
Guys.
related. This is not related
And-
to veganism. Let's
And
just
Yeah.
I don't mind
give
knowing
you
the
a
answer to
final
that question,
analysis
by the
of-
way.
Can I give you a final analysis of
No.
our conversation?
No.
No, just to give you a few
No.
compliments. Like
The
of what I
answer is
learned.
no, you cannot. Let's move on.
I will do it.
No.
Anyway.
What is
Let's
the
move on.
difference
Belek,
between a
no, Belek, I
obligation
want-
and a
Guys,
virtue?
hey guys,
I
hey
want
guys,
to-
hey,
hold on. I'll start.
can you guys
I'll have
move
to-
on to dairy products?
Yes, I actually want to just move on from this. Dexter, let's just stop yapping. All of us are going to stop yapping, and let's address some questions about veganism. Does anyone have any questions in
I do.
relation to? Okay,
I
what's
do.
the question? So-
Actually, I think Postmortem brought up something interesting, and I'd love to know. She was asking, so related as well to veganism. She was saying the difference between moral obligation and moral virtue. In relation to veganism, then how would what is the difference between the two?
Yes.
And how would that relate to veganism?
Sure. So a moral, I'm like very simplifying it very much. So a moral obligation is when you contribute as pertaining to veganism, when you contribute to something immoral, then and you can stop doing it, it's your moral obligation to stop doing it. A moral virtue is like going extra, right? So I don't have a moral obligation towards people who are homeless, right? But I go volunteer to cook food for them anyways. That's a moral virtue. That's, I don't, I hope that was clear.
So you saying an obligation is like something we have to do, but then what would be the moral
No,
obligation?
not necessarily. Yeah, so not that's just addressing the word and not addressing what I said. When you are contributing to something immoral and you have the ability to stop contributing to it, right? That's when it becomes a moral obligation. If you don't have the I don't even know if it's like a moral question when you don't have the ability to stop it.
I also sent like a picture in the side chat. It's a nice continuum where you basically see what kind of actions can or cannot be done. Whether something is like a virtue, it's also commonly known as being supererogatory. Basically, it goes beyond your obligation. It's good, but not required.
Yeah.
Essentially, supererogatory.
And in relation to veganism, then that was I think the second half.
Well,
Well,
come again?
So veganism is around exists around the fact that you are the one paying for animals being exploited and killed without us collectively paying for it. Those industries wouldn't even exist. You can stop almost everybody in the entire world, like 99.9% can be vegan. Therefore, it becomes a moral obligation to do so.
Okay, I'll look up those two terms as well too, so I can better understand them. But yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Context.
And I'm gonna add it to my site, so that would be cool.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, what's up?
Nice to see you all. There's lots of people in here. I was curious. What are you guys talking about? What's going on? 'Cause I just
It's
joined.
the title of the channel. It's called "Vegans Are Better" with a question mark. So we're asking, are vegans better?
Oh, I completely missed that. Thank you for pointing that out.
Sure.
That's fine.
You want to stick around and have the conversation, Timothy?
Yeah, are you
The
vegan,
what,
Timothy?
sorry?
Would you like to stick around and have the conversation?
Yeah, I'd be down. I might. I'll stick around for a little bit. I think my friend wanted to call me in a second though. But I'm not vegan. The Bible talks. I'm a Christian. The Bible talks about how we can eat all kinds of food that God has made clean, and so I don't mind eating bacon and so on.
Do you think, Timothy, do you think that your God would rather you be cruel and unjust towards an innocent animal, or do you think your God would rather you be nice to them?
I think it'd rather be nice, but we messed up first in the book of Genesis when Adam and Eve rebelled against God, and Adam had dominion over the animals, and I think that's the nature of authority. When the person in authority makes a bad decision, as Adam did, the people under them suffer, kind of like the government.
Cool.
And
Hold
so
on.
it wasn't
Whoa, whoa,
God's
whoa.
fault. Hold on, it wasn't. Wait a minute. It wasn't God's fault that now we're eating animals. That's our fault.
Yep.
It's
Hold on,
us who
hold on.
rebels
You
against God.
made a
Go ahead.
really interesting statement, and I kind of want to understand this a little bit.
Sure,
You said
man.
like Adam had dominion over animals. That was during the
Hmm.
Garden of Eden. What do you mean by dominion in the Garden of Eden?
I mean it. Yeah, I mean it in the same sense it's used today, as they had, I would say, authority. And I'd have to check with the lexicons,
Wait.
but they were ruling over. The Bible says the fish and so on. They were ruling over it.
So are you
And
telling
I'd say
me
they
that?
have to charge.
Are you telling me that,
Go
that
ahead.
Adam and Eve had the authority to do whatever to animals they wanted to, or do you think
No.
they had the? What do you mean by
I'd
the
say,
authority?
yeah, what I would say, it's kind of like, well, it's a king now, but it was a
It's like
queen back
stewardship. Is the
then.
word.
Yeah. So because you live in the United Kingdom, it's hard to say, so we do live in the United Kingdom, so you could correct me if I'm wrong here. At least I imagine this to be the case, that the Queen, when she was alive, had a certain amount of authority, perhaps, but not all authority. I would say maybe the president or the government or whatever of the UK had the ultimate authority, being God, who delegated some authority and had rules for Adam and Eve as to what to do. And I think that's how it would work.
Sure, but
if that
in
makes
relation to veganism, like we would understand that. I think as the other person said, stewardship, and well, like taking care of another individual, right? I wouldn't say that they had the
Yeah.
dominion so they could do whatever they want to them. It's more like, hey, they had the dominion over them, so they had to take care of the lesser being.
That's what I would say. Yeah,
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there.
that's it.
Felix, yeah, it was stewardship when we talk about dominion, because it was like a passing on of a, I don't know how to explain it. Where are you from, Felix? If you don't mind me asking.
But I live in-
Poland has a monarch, I think. I'm just saying, if I use it in monarch circumstances, like you know, when you distribute power, so to speak, you know, the person with the highest authority will always have more power over something, but they will distribute it with responsibility. I don't know how to explain that. Yeah.
No, that's fine. But yeah, in relation to that, I would also say, like, if this is the case, then why can't we have stewardship with animals right now?
We can.
I think we do.
And we do, don't we?
Well,
Well,
not with
that's what I was-
farming, not with farming them, do
Not
we?
with-
When we,
yeah.
yeah, like, do you realize that farming animals inherently involves us controlling their breeding process?
Yeah, I'm aware.
So,
Yeah, that's what the Bible says Adam and Eve got.
so wait, before we go into this like a little bit deeper, because you bring up the Bible a lot, Timothy, is that your reason for consuming animal products? Because the Bible says that you can?
I'd say the Bible doesn't forbid us from doing it. And if Christianity weren't true, I don't see the whole point in this debate as to what. Let me say this real quick. I'll just spend 20 seconds on this and I'll let you get you guys' thoughts. I don't see the problem with this whole, you know, I don't know what you guys' thoughts are, but if anyone here thinks, you know, oh, eating animals and so on and, you know, ruling over them, that's not good. What moral standard are we appealing to for that?
But Timothy, are you against
I would
gay
agree
people?
with Tim.
Timothy, are you against gay people?
No, God, I'd say God cares about them, and so do I.
Oh, okay.
So
So
I'm not
wait.
against them. I
but
think
in the
I think
Bible-
what they're
but in the
doing is
Bible-
not.
But in the Bible, it says it's wrong to be gay, right? They even call it sodomy, if I'm not mistaken. So right now, you're making a judgment call. You're saying, I'm not going to trust the Bible on this one. I'm going to trust my intuition on it.
Shouldn't we keep it to
No, if
veganism,
you-
though,
I'm
Chip
sorry,
Jar?
no, just give me,
Let me
give me a
finish.
second, because if he let me finish, because if you had
No,
let
you
me
have to let
finish,
me
I was
finish. You have to let me finish.
no, wait a minute, because if you let me finish, I was gonna say I think the Bible indicates it's wrong, but I don't hate them. That's my
So
stance.
is it wrong?
If you
Is
had
it
let-
wrong to be gay?
I'd say yes.
I'm not sure what this has to do with veganism.
Yeah,
So
it
the reason
doesn't.
I want to go back to that.
The reason why I mentioned that, if you let me say it, is because you obviously will not trust everything that says in the Bible. You still pick and choose, and for certain
No, I
areas,
trust it all.
for certain you don't trust it all, because in the Bible, in the Old Testament, it literally says that there's areas that where it says that the Israeli people not the Israeli people, sorry, that you can enslave
Israelites,
people
yeah.
outside of your land. Yeah, Israelites can enslave people
Trying
outside
to
of their
import
land.
modern day slavery into biblical times. That was cultures ago. That was ages back. That it's different
Yeah,
back
so you
then. If you had
ignore
read
those
history,
standards, right? You ignore those standards that are in the book
Exactly.
because
No, I
they're no
don't-
longer
I don't
relevant.
Okay.
I don't ignore the newest. I think modern day slavery is definitely wrong. It seems to me, right off the bat, no one's really looked into what slavery meant back then and what it means. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean what it means today.
Well, eating animals didn't mean back then what it means today.
Yeah.
But the thing is, eating
Exactly.
animals would not be a moral thing. This is what I'm saying. That's a dietary thing. So, for
No.
example,
It's a moral.
Veganism.
We're
What
talking
about
about morals
splitting?
here. Just morals.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I would love to get that view as to how this is not a health thing, but a moral
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
Because I don't see
So,
this as
yeah.
a moral thing.
Yeah, I can make a brief introduction into the moral side of veganism, which is the only side, basically. So vegans avoid paying for exploitation and slaughter of animals as much as possible and practicable because animals are sentient. Sentience means that they have the capacity to experience life around them. They have feelings such as fear and joy. So it's basically the ability to have consciousness. This is a trait that we as humans share with animals. There are many differences between humans and animals, but this is the thing that we share. I think that this is the reason we shouldn't exploit and kill people, and ergo, we shouldn't exploit and kill animals for the same reason.
Murder.
May I
think
ask
you mean
what your
murder
worldview
people.
is?
By the way, when you're saying killing people, and unless of course if you're complete pacifist, I'm just asking, are you completely pacifistic? In other words, you wouldn't
No,
agree with war.
There are too many people talking, by the way. Vanishman, can you mute yourself? Or something?
I have not talked.
Yeah,
I think it's
but we're
someone
talking
else.
to somebody else right now. We already talked to you, and you beat incredible bullets the last time.
Hold on. Let's just continue. I'll start muting in case someone just starts.
Sorry, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What was it? The pacifist view you were
No,
viewing?
I don't
Did
hold
you
up.
mean murder?
Yeah, hold on. I did. First of all, murder is a legal definition that means a very specific thing. So killing is included in murder is included in killing. Right? No, I'm not a complete pacifist. If somebody is coming at me to kill me and I have the ability to defend myself, I will.
Understood. By the way, murder is important here. We need to get fixed on the terms. I would absolutely agree with you that murder is something that is immoral. However, I would not group murder in then with killing of humans because that's two different points of views. When you're in war, you have to kill.
Sure, that's not it's not a relevant distinction here. So
it is a relevant distinction because we don't murder
I'd say it
animals.
is relevant.
I didn't say the word murder, so it's not a relevant distinction here. I said slaughter.
I understand. No, I understand, but I'm being specific with you. So I understand.
But that specificity is just like a blah blah moment because it doesn't matter in this case. Please address what I actually said.
All right, no problem. Please continue.
So what I said is that we share this trait with animals called sentience, and if we put humans where animals are at for our consumption, then we would call that immoral. I think for the same reason, it's immoral to do to animals. That's it. That was my point.
May I share something on this as well? Sorry, 1 second, gentlemen and ladies as well. The thing is, here's where I'm confused with you guys. And I want to come back to these words, and you'll understand my point of view. This is not murder of animals. Now, indeed, you can.
I
murder
literally
animals.
didn't use the word murder, though.
And just calm down and please listen to what I'm saying. I'm clarifying my point. Okay? Now, murder of animals is wrong. Obviously, you would stand trial for doing something like this. When we're talking about abattoirs and things like this, we're not discussing murder of animals. We're discussing killing. Which is
Okay,
entirely
how do you
different.
define murder in this case?
It's unjust killing. That is the definition of murder. We're not unjust.
Why is a
killing
slaughterhouse not an unjust killing?
Well, explain
Yeah,
to
you
me why
don't
it is
need
an
to.
unjust killing.
Exactly. So it's murder. There you go. You
No,
called it
but
murder.
how is it an unjust killing? I would
How?
like to know.
I
This is why I'm
literally
here.
explained because we share the trait that makes it not okay to put somebody in a slaughterhouse. We share the trait, sentience. If it would be murder, hold on. I haven't finished saying
He
the
keeps
thing that I
talking,
wanted
no one
to
can
say.
speak.
Yeah, you go on.
You've
You
already
just
said
talk.
a lot.
You
No
just
one-
talk.
Yeah,
can I
we'd like to,
respond?
if that's okay
Can I
after your
respond?
point. Yeah,
Can I respond to that?
Anyone
Okay,
can respond,
so-
yeah.
So the way I see it is that it is actually unjust killing what we do to these animals because of a few things. So the very first thing is it's not a necessity in our given context anymore, right? So if we agree that
in
it
what
is
given
not
context, sorry?
It,
Could you
so
elaborate?
I would,
20th century is
yeah,
the
I would-
context.
yeah, I would presume that in your current context, it would be feasible to be on a complete vegan diet without any animal products.
May I ask you a question, please?
That is correct, yeah. There is an option.
Yeah, so if that is the case, I would argue that you are not doing it because of you're not doing it because of dude, can you just shut the fuck up in the background?
Wait, I'm moderating. Hold on, it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, please. I do want to hear what you guys are saying. And
Because I always then lose my train of thought. So once it is not necessary anymore, I would argue that then these the reason why we consume animal products is actually based on some, you could say, quote unquote, primitive interest, be it sensory interest based on habit. It's not reflective, in other words, right? It doesn't involve any reflection. It's not a necessity, right? It's just something for sensual pleasure and gratification, or just convenience of some sort.
it could be.
And what?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were finished.
And adding to that component of necessity, it's also the question: how can you ethically kill an individual, be it human or another animal? How can you kill them if they don't have an interest actually to be killed?
Okay.
I wonder what you guys think of abortion. Do you guys think that's wrong?
No, let's not get derailed, please. Don't
Just
get
try to
derailed.
keep it to the veganism thing.
To address this, there can be pro-life, pro-choice vegan, so it doesn't really matter. So you're gonna ask her like a personal question rather than a vegan question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
flirt with you, Val, on something? It can be to do essential. Some people just enjoy meat. I agree with you. For me, I'm sort of parted as well because I do enjoy vegetables. By the way, to let you guys know, I was formerly vegan as well, so that was a lifestyle I did follow, and then I gradually shifted back again. Just to clarify, the way that I view it is I separate between the two. Between the morals of humans and the morals of animals. And yes, that would come down to my own the belief that I follow, that presents the case for doing it. However, I still would argue that you can't just do whatever you want to animals, within some given context.
Why?
Why? Sorry? Why? So there's two reasons why. Both multi-layered. Number one is, biblically speaking, you can't. Secondly is, governmentally speaking, you can't as well.
So wait, so
those
you
would be the
can't,
two cases.
but none of those are moral aspects of it, right? What you're saying, you can't do
Why would
anything
they
you
not
want
be
to
moral?
animals because your religion or because your faith or your laws forbid it. But any moral aspect to it, anything that seems to be right, like let me ask you this: do you think it's right to do whatever we want to animals?
No, I just said
Why?
that.
No, you didn't just say that. You said, you said, and listen to the distinction, because there is a distinction there. You said we should not be doing anything we want to animals because the law doesn't allow us and my religion says it's bad. My question to you is, why do you think it's bad? Is it just because your religion says it's bad, or do you have any logical motivation for saying that it is bad?
That's a
Yeah,
fallacy.
I can answer that one. Though I will say that question is a bit pointed because you're basically claiming that religion or what I follow is not logical. So I'm going to correct you and say it is based upon logic as to what exactly
Explain
I
the
follow.
logic.
Very well. The logic is there is a being that is more moral than each and every person within this call and indeed in
Not
the world
explain the
that has
logic of
demonstrated.
religion.
Dude, stop interrupting.
But not
Yeah,
explain the logic of religion. Explain the logic of why
No,
is
no.
it wrong to do
That-
whatever
that
you
is
want
the
to
logic.
animals.
He's going to explain both if you let him finish.
Okay,
Well,
I'm
I've
sorry
just-
for
I've just-
interrupting you there.
That's okay. Just please hear me out. I understand everybody here personally believes something. So the logic is I am listening to a more morally good being versus no morally good being in this call. That is the logic. So I trust them over what everybody else is saying. That would face the religious aspect. In terms of the governmental aspect, I enjoy my freedom. I don't want to end up in prison.
Okay, but like the reason why I ask you if it's right or wrong is not because it's something with okay, never mind. I feel like this discussion isn't really getting anywhere. So I'm just gonna simplify it for you.
It
Okay?
is. I mean, I'm learning.
yeah. So the reason why it is cruel.
Before we move on, hold on, Chip. Before we move on, I think my points haven't been addressed. So I gave you two components, right? My first component was that of necessity, and the second one was how can you kill ethically an animal that has no interest in being killed?
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to get to that. I mean, that is the question. I think if we could work that one out, I think all vegans would be happy and they wouldn't be eating meat.
Yeah.
I think we already worked it out, brother. We're just trying to get you to catch up, and that's why we're walking you through this conversation.
Yeah. What was that answer? I may have missed that.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is if it's not necessary, which it isn't anymore, we don't do it. That's exactly how we move towards a better world than pretty much every other axiom.
I wanted to touch upon that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can I go after
Right.
you?
For I believe most parts of Europe, I can't comment on not being over Europe. I think that's correct. I think they could stick with eating vegetables, although there are parts of the world where that's not feasible, and people.
How about this? Where do you live?
Diet. So I live in the UK.
I'm out of northern Kazakhstan, so if I can assume
Hold
that,
on, let me
I assume you have a
engage.
store that has vegan options. Well, let's start with you.
Yeah,
I didn't hear what you said.
exactly. I think we have established at the very onset when I engaged with you, we already established that it's about your current context, and then I stipulated like both components, that of necessity and that's the point of injustice towards the animal that has like no interest in being killed prematurely. And I need like a response like to both things, because I think we have established that you can survive or even thrive on a vegan diet given your context.
I'd be lying if I said no. It's absolutely feasible where I am. I was only bringing up the part that, as I'm sure you guys are aware, it wouldn't be possible for the entire world to do it due to just conditions in other places.
Yes, brother. It's not possible yet, right? But how do we make something possible, right? We care to make it possible. So like with every other social change, every other habit change, through the last 4 industrial revolutions, right? It starts in the place where it's feasible. It expands and develops. This creates abundance and allows it to go to other places, right? So it's not rocket science, really. So when it comes down to it, if you have the choice, you have the ability to vote for the infrastructure and pay for the future world you want to see. Mm-hmm. Why aren't you doing it, right? That's the point.
Yes, that will answer. I just wanted to see if you guys were aware.
Okay, yeah, that's the only answer I'm really interested in.
For me, it was not conducive for my dietary requirements to go fully vegan. Remember, I had tried it as well, so I do speak with somebody.
I know you said it.
I think it was either 3 to 5 years. I cannot remember how long I was on that for a gradual shift from vegetarianism to veganism. It's gotten easier in the UK though, guys, because it is catered for. But eating meat for me, I noticed a change within my I don't know how to explain it. The protein from meat versus the protein that I was getting from a lot of the plant foods, I was suffering less side effects, let's put it like that. So that's why.
So how do you know? Well, I guess there's two things there that seem very odd to me, right? The first thing that I'll say to me, the first thing that seems very odd, is that you have some kind of symptoms you're saying you had, but somehow you've been able to pinpoint it specifically to protein. How did you come to that conclusion? What scientific process did you use to isolate that variable?
It wasn't pinpointed to the protein, so it was pinpointed to where I was getting my source of protein, just to elaborate.
But how do you know it was protein, right? You do understand diet is a lot more than protein, the 14 amino acids, etc.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of things. Yeah, so that's my point. What are we talking about right now? How do you know the protein in plant form versus meat form was your issue here?
I think you misunderstood me, friend. What I was saying is it was where I was getting the protein from, not the protein.
Yeah, right. No, I think you're misunderstanding me, friend. How do you know where you were getting the protein is what was causing your symptoms? That's what I'm trying. This is the disconnect that you haven't filled the gap for me yet.
That's easy.
How do we get to this conclusion?
You just separate out the foods and then you see what's causing the issue.
Great. That's cool. But how do we still know that it was protein? Because you do understand you need a lot more than protein to not have like health symptoms and consequences. So this is what I'm not understanding. How did you find out? How did you come to the conclusion logically, right, and coherently that your issue with eating vegan and eating non-vegan, the difference between the symptoms you were experiencing specifically related to protein, when there are many other variables related to your health and your nutrition?
So the source of where I was getting protein from just plant-based.
Why are you fixating on protein? That's what I'm asking you. What specifically makes sense?
Because this was the big reason why I switched. and then versus where I'm getting protein from when I eat
Okay,
meat.
brother, you're going around in circles
No,
here.
but
so-
like, why couldn't it have been like, say, selenium or zinc? How do you know that it was protein, not zinc, selenium,
that's
or whatever?
exactly it. You're
Okay,
not understanding, yeah.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll put this another way, actually.
You could just put it this way. You don't know.
So
and
the
you're just
food
assuming
that I
it's
was
protein,
choosing
right?
to eat,
Hold on, let him.
yeah, the food that I was choosing to eat, right, when I was entirely
Uh-huh.
plant-based, caused issues, whereas when I switched over to eating meat, no issues.
That's
Wait,
not
I wanna-
answering
I
the
wanna address
question.
that. Hold on, I want to address this. So, were you tracking any of the foods that you were eating through like apps like Chronometer or MyFitnessPal to kind of isolate exactly what the issue was coming from?
There was no need to do that.
Or like a blood test, or
Wait,
like a blood
wait.
test. I don't know. Like you need like some
Hold on.
indicators.
I want to say
You,
something.
you really don't, guys. What you can do is,
Jesus
right?
Christ.
If you
All you
really
can do
don't,
is
guys.
you just do
He's
random
saying to me when
shit
there's a
and hope
problem,
it
we don't
works.
diagnose the problem.
Guys,
hold
guys,
on.
I want to
Okay,
kind of
okay.
address this because it's actually really important. If you claim it's
Меня
I thought,
слили, Ромчик. Ну реально, она меня просто опрокинула.
I'll just mute the person. Okay.
Yeah, go on, Philip.
So the whole view is, if I said to you, I tried this different diet, the best health diet there is, but I was not tracking anything, and I got super sick. What do you think is the cause of that?
Well, that could be multiple things, which is, I think, what these guys
But
are
if I
saying.
told you I was not tracking any of the food that I was eating, I kind of it's
exactly.
already
I completely understand your point, but this is where I'm
if you weren't
confused.
tracking anything, right? Like, I guess what we're getting at here.
Hey,
Let me just say this real quick. Hold on.
I just said that. I literally just
You
said
were.
it.
No, you literally
I just
said
thought-
you weren't, and it
literally
doesn't
said the
matter.
opposite. You said you weren't tracking.
Stop,
When I had
guys,
ice-
stop. Let's just work through this one by one. Okay. So how were you tracking your nutritional intake?
No, guys. Yeah, I don't know why you're stuck on the nutrition aspect. I was looking at what food.
Entire
would cause the
relevant
problem.
to this
This is where I'm confused. I'm not sure why
Hey,
you guys
hold
are
on.
going down.
I can answer this question. So the reason why we ask all of this is because you see you have made this thing. And you could also go in another direction, and I'll explain, right? So you were consuming plant-based diet, and you weren't feeling good about it, right? So then you said, what will I do? I will go oppress innocent animals and eat their flesh. And then all of a sudden you said you started feeling good, right? But you
So
see
if somebody
that-
else wants to ask me the
let me
question,
finish.
go
Can
for
you
it.
let
Let me
people
finish.
finish
Yeah, I've got a
talking?
question.
Let me finish. So, but you see, you've already made an error right there because, first of all, you didn't inspect what was causing the issues in your health, right? That's the number one thing that we are continuously telling you because your body needs nutrients. The nutrient source doesn't matter, right? That's number one. And number two, why did you go on eating these animals? Why didn't you go on eating humans? Why did you consider it important to eat these animals and not humans? Why didn't you go on eating any other thing? You see, like the whole idea is that you said, well, I have a problem with my health. These animals, I see them as objects, or I can take advantage of them just to see if my health is better. And you've already committed a mistake. You see what I mean? Like you've
Does
already
anybody else want to ask me a
objectified
question?
these animals.
I'm not going to answer that question because you've not listened.
I'll kind of like take Chip's statement and kind of flip it around, right?
Go on.
Like, because
Sorry, I'm just going to completely ignore that question, Chip. Just to be clear.
I'll elaborate on Chip's question. I'll take Chip's question. So, for example,
Please
let's
don't say that. Sorry, not to you, Felix. What Chip just said. Thank you.
It's just a figure of speech. It's whatever.
But
Yes.
go on.
So the whole view is why did you think that you had to go out and like kill animals if there are other ways of tackling that issue? What you said, that nutritional issue. I think, for example, for me, if I started having some kind of symptoms, I don't know, my eyes became yellow or whatever, I wouldn't start flipping from a diet to a diet to a diet to a diet until something worked. I would just go to a doctor saying, hey, I have this issue. How can I tackle this on a vegan diet?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I understand that point. So what I did was, I opted for what I had done so in the past and what I had worked and what had worked for me. So upon refollowing that up again, I noticed that I was happier and that I was feeling better. So that's why. Because guys, the core thing you'll understand is, as I've already said, this is a diet thing. So this is individual from person to person. Not everyone can do a vegan diet. Not everyone should do a vegan diet, by the way. Not everyone should just do a full carnivore diet. So that depends on the individual. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I just want you to understand this. Ingredients are not nutrients, right? If you know there's specific nutrients that you need, you can probably get it on a vegan diet. And if you know that it was, and if you think it was potassium, zinc, or whatever, as Val said, just if you don't know where it is, go to a doctor, say, hey, I want more X, Y, and Z on the vegan diet, and just do that. But I know that for you, what worked was doing this, doing that, because you have some good experiences doing it. But we're talking from the ethical perspective. Like, sure, this is helpful for you, but is it helpful for the animals?
Yes, I wanted to address that, by the way, and Felix, I think you asked that more sensibly. But remember, gentlemen, ladies, sorry as well, and as I had already said, my faith view does not discredit me, or is the word discredit? It doesn't disallow me from eating meat. So it's like, well, okay, there's no moral, ethical view.
Wait, why did you go vegan in the first place, if I may ask? So something. Yeah, I'm just curious.
I actually had a good question. So I actually had a completely different faith to begin with while I was vegan, actually. And later on in my life, I had adopted being a follower of Christ. I was still vegetarian, not quite vegan at the time. And after looking into it, I was like, well, I mean, you can follow being vegetarian. It doesn't actually matter according to the faith. But however, you know, it's no longer a moral obligation anymore. So it's like, well, okay, I'll go back to eating animals.
Oh, so religion ruined your brain. That's terrible.
Well, my
wait 1 minute, please. Felix.
What was the moral obligation?
Felix, unmute my friend, please.
Hello.
Yeah, if he's gonna stop talking to the people.
Okay. I am leaving. It's my friend to leaving. Please.
That's fine.
Thank
you, everyone.
Oh, it's idiot.
Give my advice. Well, not my opinion, rather. Thanks, because I've been wanting to give my opinion. I'm not trying to change the subject here, but it is interesting if I might point out how I keep hearing these moral words being thrown out. Oh, the poor animals, and you know they just want to live. And I was wondering if I could ask, maybe particularly post-mortem, and I don't know if he's still here, Val as well. How do you guys? And this is tied into.
No.
Do you?
Well, don't ask Val then. No, ask Felix then. He's more open to it.
Yeah, let me ask one of the two I asked. And it is tied into the animals here. How would you? And let me elaborate right after I ask this question. How do you go? Because you're using these moral words. What are you basing, or what moral standard are you guys appealing to when you make these claims? Because when you say, you know, this animal, it deserves to live according to whose standard? It just, if you, I don't know your worldview, but if you guys are atheists or agnostics, they're just chemical accidents. These animals that they evolved from the slime. How do you know?
On that standard, you're also a chemical accident, and that doesn't make it okay to kill you, right?
No, I know I'm not. The only reason it's not good to kill me is because I'm created in the image of God.
Well, you believe in that. I don't believe in that.
Timothy, though, whether you believe in a sky daddy or not, really doesn't change the fact that it's basic, common decency and morality,
yeah,
right?
It's basic decency.
Hold on. Let me finish. It's so easy, right?
Let me answer that, because
whether you think sky daddy created you, go ahead.
Dude, you're not actually understanding.
You're not understanding. I got interrupted. I can easily just clip this up for you. Whether you believe a sky daddy created you or evolution created you doesn't change the fact you have a sense of morality. Okay? In your physiology, you have a sense of empathy. We can measure these things, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, man. I get what you're saying. My point is that No, I do, and you'll see that in a second. I understand that you see we have a sense of morality. My question is, what makes most sense in light of that? Is it evolution, we came from the slime, or God created us in his image? Now, I agree, yeah, we have morality, but that's only because of the biblical worldview. It does matter. Because both vary widely.
It matters. Look, whether we came from the slime or your sky daddy created us doesn't change the fact that we come to the same conclusion in this conversation, that we have empathy, we have morality.
May I just ask this a bit differently? That's okay. What he's asking is, guys, is so where are you getting your moral values from? That's what he's asking. Where from?
Yeah, so I can
morality
answer this
itself.
But that doesn't make any sense. So
you
who's
got morality
defining
from
morality?
morality itself?
Look, I'm not interested where it comes from. I'm interested what it does.
You're not
I'm not going
interested
to
where
claim
it
whether
does.
God
That's what we're
created
Okay,
it
let me
or-
answer. Let me answer this. So there are some commonly
I'll be right back, guys.
commonly accepted converging values, right? That we can see across cultures, philosophies, and religions as well. I can name a few, and you probably will agree. And you don't
Are they
need
all
any
coming from
religion for that.
humans? Can I ask? that
Yeah,
question?
they come, but
So
some
I'm not
animals
interested in what
actually.
humans
Can
say.
I please
You're
answer?
all immoral.
Воу, ребята,
Why
всем
are we
привет.
immoral?
Well, okay. Do
No,
you tell lies?
because
Do you lie, Val?
Ребята, всем привет.
yeah, for sure, yeah.
Well, so then you're not a moral being. So hang on, guys. So you're telling
Hold
me
on,
you
hold
get
on,
your
hold on,
morals
hold on,
from
hold on.
humans?
Okay, let's fight some bullets here. So let's fight some bullets here. Okay, so suppose let's go back around 85 years ago, during the Second World War, when the Nazis basically knocked on your door and they wanted to know where your daughter is. If you're staying silent and if you're staying silent and you don't tell them the truth, they will kill you.
So sorry, I'm asking you about your morals. Okay, if you want to
No,
make
no,
it
I was
hypothetical, I can
asking you
answer that
hypothetical. I was asking you
question.
I was asking you hypothetical. Is it permissible to lie to save your daughter from the Nazis?
You can read actually Joshua 2 and get your answer from there. By the way,
I'm actually interested.
No, I'm not interested in this random dude. Just give me the fucking answer.
So okay then. So firstly, don't swear at me. Secondly, as well, if you please. Secondly, as well, if you're not interested in seeking the answer, I'm not interested in giving you the answer. Is that fair?
No, I am.
They said, "Oh, we're not interested."
Guys,
No, I have never said that. I'm not interested in reading this guy. I'm interested in your answer. Why?
So
why
then
would
I'm
I
not
leave-
interested in providing you the answer.
Wait.
What?
Let's just
But
address
I'm
one thing.
interested. No,
Val,
Felix,
stop.
please. I'm interested.
'Cause this
I'm
is
interested in your framework, not in this other guy's. I'm interested in your framework.
My framework comes from scripture, but yes, Felix.
Wait. I just want to address one thing, and we can just completely shut this down. There can be vegan Christians. There can be vegan people who follow Islam. There can be vegan atheists.
Yes,
and
correct.
veganism doesn't really discriminate on any of these beliefs, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's correct.
Well, because it doesn't matter where the
Let's
biology
just-
came
let's
from. You
just-
can argue
That's
about
true,
that. The fact is, we have it.
But the question I was asking Felix is different because this was general curiosity. Is I understand that this is a moral issue. So what I was asking is, under what principle would this morality come from? Everybody, to my knowledge, had said, okay, from humans.
Look,
So I brought up,
wait.
but hang on a second. That
I
doesn't
have
make
the answer
sense
for you.
to
I
me.
have the answer for you. It depends
Go.
who you talk to. It depends who you talk
Fair
to.
enough.
So it's a
Well,
convention.
you could say that, but you could even boil it down even simpler than that, which is the whole premise of regardless of whatever religion you have. But whether you're a Christian, it's the Christian Sky Daddy, or is it, whether it's the Buddhist, like
Can you
whatever.
stop
Point is,
disrespecting
do
our
you mind stop
religion
saying
and calling
Sky
him
Daddy
Sky
as well,
Daddy?
by the
Yeah,
way?
it's
yeah,
really
It's
disrespectful.
I mean that's how I refer to him, right? That's respectful
Okay,
to me.
No, call him by his name.
Wait. Abe, for just to make the conversation a little bit better, just say whatever
All
goal
right,
you
fine.
follow. Yeah.
Sure, whatever God you follow, right? Like, and whatever you think, wherever you think the morals came from, at the end of the day, we all have them. And the reason we have them is because we're a social, right? We're a social creature. We have to collaborate with each other. To collaborate and share with each other, we need a common understanding and a sense of empathy that would contend with survival, right? So there's the reason why empathy, and thus what spurs from empathy, morality, comes from feeling, emotion, shared experience. Like you stub your toe or you break your arm, and I can feel a wince, right? Because even though my arm isn't what's broken, there's a physiological response, baked into the experience of being
Sorry,
human.
guys. If this is how you convince someone to veganism, this is terrible because there's nothing to do with your emotions.
I mean,
or morality.
it's funny you would think you would ever
Morality
come to
must
veganism.
stand
You're not someone who's based in rationale. So having a
No,
rational
so let me
discussion
ask
with someone
you,
like you,
there
that's
are
not
some-
very plausible.
apart from what a person believes. At the end, they has to be.
Yeah, so there
objectively
are some converging values that almost every culture has, and they can also be philosophized by way of reason. Let me name a few because I did not make that point earlier because I got interrupted. So there are a few ones, and I think you would probably agree. So there are like non-maleficence, beneficence, justice, compassion, and some other virtues as well, right? And you don't have to be religious in order to, or you don't even have to believe in a monotheistic, like in a deity, right? So we have actually evidence that even the Buddhists, the Hindus, like way back in India, there were like, or even in ancient Greek, these beings, these individuals, they don't even believe like in a deity per se. They had like no scripture of a god, and they still hold certain values such as like the golden rule or ahimsa, do no violence. So we see converging values and moral principles, and we don't even, and God is not even a necessity there, because morality.
Yes, he is.
No, it is not.
Yes,
because
I'll answer if you want.
If it were necessary, then everyone would be immoral with the absence of God, and that is not the case. We see moral behavior even in the absence of God, of believing in God.
You do. I agree.
Here's the thing. We can make sense of that because we can make sense of, because we agree. We don't doubt that all these people have moral values. But our question is, what makes sense of that in light of the two views? We as Christians understand that everyone has these values because God has written his moral law on their hearts, even though they don't have the scriptures. They know it's wrong to lie and steal and so on, because God has written that law on his heart. And if evolution's true, our point is you shouldn't. Yes, vegans can be have morality, but you shouldn't.
Let me respond. So I think for humans, right, I believe not just believing something because someone told you so is more robust change in morals, but arguments and reason. If you know why you should do something or not do something, right? If you have reasons and argumentation, right, and you're propelled by these reasons,
I'll let you speak next.
That is much of a stronger motivator than just because someone told me so. That could be parents, society, or because it's forbidden, right? And it needn't be necessarily forbidden because of the Bible. It can also be, well, because if I speed on the highway, I may get like a ticket or so. These are poor reasons. But if you have strong argument behind your beliefs, right? Like let's say I don't want to get hurt, so I don't hurt others. That's a good reason. That is much of a stronger motivator than just because God told you so.
I would love to bring that up more, Val. I just don't want to start shifting what the topic is, okay? But I'm happy to talk about that.
I want to take all of... Sorry, Chip. Yes.
Go ahead.
Can I just respond? Because you said one thing that sounded very interesting to me. So you said God put the morals that you have...
Wrote the moral law in our heart, yeah.
Exactly, wrote the morals in our heart, right? So in essence, what you're saying is that if internally something feels bad, then it could be that God made us that way, and it's maybe a message from God that it does feel bad, doesn't it? So then when you see animals being exploited and slaughtered for something that you could easily choose otherwise, because I want to bring it back to veganism. So when you see animals being exploited and slaughtered, you definitely don't feel good about seeing that. So why is it that you don't see that as a signal that your God wrote down in your heart that you should probably not participate in it if you had the option not to? I understand in the past maybe it was needed, but right now it's no longer needed. You no longer have to participate in it. So right now you're just doing it because it's convenient.
And on the same vein of that, right? Like you in your Bible, for example, you didn't have to have God tell you not to kick the dog that's walking down the street, right? Without necessity. You just do it because it makes sense.
Because we're like throwing things at people and going one by one. I want to take the Chips argument because we need to go to the toilet in a second. I just quickly ask this simple question: if the only reason we kill animals nowadays is for taste and taste pleasure alone, should we be vegan? Yes, no, yes, no.
I think you can kind of replicate that taste though in vegan food. Kind of, I would add.
But let's stick to the question for now. If the only reason we will kill animals nowadays in billions only for taste, should we stop and be vegan?
Just for gluttony, essentially, more or less. I mean, it's a gluttony, but yeah, it's pleasure.
I'll let you guys think of that. Think of the answer, and I'll let other vegans talk.
Anybody gonna answer Felix's question?
By the way,
oh my gosh.
God bless you guys and take care.
Yeah. Thought so.
Wait, so you're leaving now?
Yeah.
You were brought up the good arguments and now you run away?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well.
That seems part of
what? Wait, hold on. I think our savior arrived. Vegan Jesus. Vegan Jesus.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Somebody else. Who's not vegan in this room?
I'm not vegan, if you can hear me.
Sure, we can hear you.
Well,
why not?
Okay, good. Yeah, so it's really interesting hearing different points of view, and I think it just boils down to where you derive your morality. It seems like the vegans are usually atheists, and they derive their morality from themselves.
Vegan Jesus.
Usually. I mean, usually. I didn't say all the time.
Well, then
usually.
It doesn't matter if vegans are both religious and not religious. Then it doesn't matter. That's not what we care about.
I'm not saying it matters. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it matters.
Well, that's not where we derive our morality from, anyways, right? Each derives it from different morality, and they reached vegan points. So this conversation doesn't matter.
Yeah, let me just get at what I'm saying, and then
Can you answer my question though? I asked you, why aren't you vegan?
Well, let me finish what I'm saying, and then maybe we can have a more productive conversation that way. I don't. This is more like a look. I'm just trying to have a discussion. Yeah? If you want to battle, I can battle, but we're just trying to understand where we're coming from. So I'm saying, from my perspective, from what I'm seeing, vegans are usually people who feel a certain way about a certain thing, which is killing animals, right? Whereas the other side are people who take the religious aspect of things and say, look, God said so, and that's it. It doesn't matter what you think, doesn't matter what you feel. God is the ultimate authority. And you'll never come to a conclusion because you're taking two sides. Now, there could be Christian vegans, yes. They might just say, well, I'm very compassionate, but they won't say it's immorally wrong. Why? Because God said so. God said it's okay.
They say it. No. Vegan Christians say it's in the Bible that we should be vegan.
No, well, come on. Look, the Jews have been sacrificing animals.
I can make the argument as well.
But I'm just saying, Jews have been slaughtering animals for minor sins, and now even Christians basically slaughtering.
But the Bible and the Torah, both of them still say that God's plan for you was to be vegan.
Anyway, I'm not Christian. I'm a Muslim, right? So it's completely different. So maybe talk about what I believe.
Well, it's not completely different. The book was based on the Bible, anyways.
Cool.
Нет, ребят, мы будем разговаривать тут только по-русски, ребята.
No, we're not gonna do that.
I just listen, everybody who has a religion here, we're not here to discuss your religion, just FYI. Yes. We don't really care what religion you have. The reality is that you can have that religion and be vegan. Yes. Sure, some of us here are atheists. Some of us here are atheists, it's true. But that doesn't mean that all vegans are atheists or that all atheists are vegans. That's just it's just not true, okay? So
that though, so it's not a thing I said, it's a straw man. But listen, what I'm saying is that you can be a Muslim, a Christian, or whatever, and be a vegan. But the reason you're a vegan is not because it's morally wrong. I could be a vegan today as a Muslim, but not because it clearly says you can eat meat, right?
Excuse me, why wouldn't it be? We also go by moral rules. They're just subjective. We recognize that they're subjective, and we reach them logically and not through a book or whatever. We still talk about morality. You can't make the claim morality doesn't exist outside of the Quran or the Bible. You literally can't do that.
I want to address so everyone knows, veganism is a philosophical stance. It's a philosophy, right? The same way how human rights are philosophy, veganism is another philosophy, right?
But I don't think you can take out religion from it, because it becomes, when you talk about morality, it's kind of linked to philosophy, religion, it's all kind of interlinked.
Philosophy literally started before there was a religion. Come on.
Yeah, well, we don't know that. That's just an assumption.
Before there was the big three religions.
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. That's what I'm trying to say for our ages now.
I just quickly want to say something. If you because we only care about individuals' thoughts and their actions, right? So if you're in this channel and you believe that abusing and harming animals for some kind of pleasure is wrong, then by that standard, you should have vegan philosophy. That's it.
Repeat that one more time, sorry, just so I can process.
If your personal beliefs tell you that we should not harm animals for some kind of pleasure, or for harming animals for something we don't need, it's just a want, then by that standard, you have a vegan philosophy, and it's only then for you to take actions to actually be consistent with your thoughts. If you believe abusing animals is wrong, and you get to a point where you can abuse an animal for pleasure, then it's up to your actions to align with your philosophy.
See, abuse, I see abuse and slaughtering for me as different things. Abuse is like beating an animal, causing it unnecessary pain when slaughtering. It's different. We're using the words differently. Like for example,
I can ask you a simple question, right? If the only reason we kill animals is for a sensory pleasure, it can be any of the senses. It can be hearing, viewing, touching, whatever. Do you think killing an animal just for some kind of sensory pleasure is a good reason to kill the animal?
Well, what you mean? You get zero calories, like nothing. You're just tasting it and nothing going in.
It doesn't really matter too much because, for example, we can say we can get the calories somewhere else, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters in this context is you get pleasure from killing the animal.
Well, yeah, I think nothing's wrong with it. I would say nothing's wrong with it. There's a lot of times I eat a nice steak. I don't need it. I just feel like it. So I'm not going to lie and be a hypocrite and say, well, no, that means I would be vegan already.
Can you answer the question, though?
Wait. This is fine.
I said it's not wrong. I said, no, I wouldn't be vegan. If it was just for sensory pleasure, I would still eat meat.
Okay, so then I can ask you other questions on top of it, but I'll let Chip. Yeah, Chip, go ahead.
It just felt to me like what you said in there, it kind of felt wrong to me because what you said is, it's not wrong because I do it. But that's not what we're saying here, right?
No, that's
what
not
we're
what I'm
asking
saying,
you, regardless if you do it or not, is it right or wrong to exploit and slaughter an innocent animal? By innocent, I mean that they did nothing wrong to you. Is it right or wrong to exploit and slaughter them for something that is essentially optional to you?
Exploit, no. Slaughter, yes. I think it's fine. That's what I'm saying. This is just about a difference of opinion. That's why I don't think you could ever convince somebody who has that's why we have to kind of bring religion into it. Because if God said so, it doesn't matter what you say. No matter what you say.
You're going off. Hold on. Let's ask you another question.
Okay, I know, but this is like, let me answer. Give me at least 30 seconds to give you a full answer. But go on.
I was just like, you just said that exploitation is wrong. Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you know that animal agriculture inherently depends on animal exploitation? And by that I mean you cannot farm animals without exploiting them. Do you know that?
And that's exactly where I think I kind of agree with you guys. I don't believe in the, factory farms. That's disgusting. Stuff like that.
You didn't say farms.
I don't agree with.
You didn't say factory farms. You said farms.
Exactly.
Well, whatever. I don't agree with the abuse of animals or bad conditions, and that's where our opinions converge.
That's not what we said.
Can you listen to his actual question, Abu-chan? Just listen.
Maybe I misheard it. Sorry, I'm a human. It happens sometimes. Go on.
Yeah.
So, in a farm, imagine the best farm you could have in your life, right? In your backyard farm. Animals are still exploited. Do you understand that?
Okay, exploited. Now, just quickly define exploited. You mean mistreated?
No, I mean used as mere objects for your own benefit and against their own detriment. So that means that you will use them and as you see fit to get whatever you want out of them, and when we can no longer get what you want out of them, you kill them. Is that not literally exploitation?
Okay, then maybe I've misunderstood you. Then that, if you consider that exploitation, then exploiting them, then yes, but not without, in my opinion, not without boundaries. You can't just kind of like pull out the feathers, like I saw some video in China where they pull out the feathers with the chicken still alive to make it look fresh. That's exploiting them, but without any boundaries or ethics behind how to best use animals, if that makes sense.
Why is that one bad? I'm just curious, why is it that we sexually exploit an animal to bring them to life so that we can kill them for you to get an optional product? Why is that okay? But if in the middle of this process you punch them, is bad. Why is that?
So one is I think you're talking about artificial insemination here, right? Like by saying sexually. What do you mean by sexual
insemination? I think the question is
you said sexually. I heard sexually something.
Yeah. So the whole question is why is it wrong to punch, let's say, the animal, but not wrong to slit the throat?
Yeah.
Well, because one is for food, and one is just for like some sadistic, weird kind of.
Yeah, one is for food pleasure and the other one is for another pleasure.
Yeah, so if you think about it this way,
that's why we need to bring in It's inevitable. We need to bring in religion
Why
and
is
mind
your
moral framework.
food pleasure
I'm
more
telling you,
important?
I'm telling
Why
you,
is
I'm
your food pleasure more justifiable than somebody
Yeah.
else's other pleasure?
I'll tell you why. Number one, I have to bring this in. I'm sorry. Number one, even when we slaughter animals Islamically, the knife has to be sharp. It has to still the jugular vein.
That's
You're meant to reduce-
no. You're going off into a different place. The question
Yeah,
is
okay,
very
okay.
simple. The question is very
Go on.
simple. Why
Go on.
is your food pleasure justifiable, but somebody else's other pleasure, let's say sex pleasure, is not justifiable in harming an animal?
Short answer, because God said so. That's what I believe. I believe God says you can't-
God said that you should get pleasure, taste pleasure from killing
No, no,
animals.
no, no.
Isn't
God
that gluttony? Isn't that a sin that God literally said you should not be doing?
No. I'm not saying you get pleasure from the killing. You get pleasure from the eating, obviously, right? So God gave permission for us to eat meat. That's what I'm saying. But God also said, don't cause unnecessary suffering. Even like a donkey, don't overburden the donkey. Why? Because it's unnecessary. And
Then why are you
it
killing
can
them?
cause-
It's unnecessary for you.
Can I throw my
No, but not according to
No,
God.
but
That's what I'm
it
saying.
is unnecessary. It is unnecessary,
I
right?
mean,
You can live without meat, yes?
Well, in the Western world, yeah, I'm not. I
Where are
teach
you from?
English online, right? And
Where are you from?
I have many students. I'm from the UK.
You're in the Western world, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no. That's what, no. Listen.
Yeah.
I'm
So
explaining
it's
to you that
no.
your
I don't want you to veer off into fucking wherever. No, in the UK, in the Western world where you are, it is. Hold on. In the Western world,
You can make a whole ruckus. I can do the same. Trust me, I can.
you are in the
No.
Western world, and for you,
wait,
it's
wait.
unnecessary,
Morality-
to pay
What
for
happens
slaughter of
if I move to
animals.
Africa? What happens if
Abu-Chan,
I move to Africa? Morality is not based where you are. That's
it
hypocritical.
literally is, because you literally just said it.
No.
Guys, I'll have to start moderating again. Let's just get to the point, right? Abu-Chan, look, you live in UK, right? Right now,
Actually, I'm from the UK. I'm not in the UK at the moment. I'm in Morocco at the moment. But yeah, go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you find out today you can be healthy, you can be whatever on a vegan diet in Morocco, do you think you should go vegan in Morocco if you can?
No. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. It's just an opinion. You think it's wrong. You don't base it on where you are. You think it's wrong, right? So wherever I'm in England, Morocco, or in the middle of the jungle of Benin, if it's morally wrong, I shouldn't eat it. I shouldn't eat it wherever I am. I should find an alternative.
Abashan, what do you think? What do you think that if the animals that are exploited for you and slaughtered for you, the animals, if they could talk, do you think they would consider it right or wrong that you choose for them to go into a slaughterhouse for something that you don't actually need?
Well, I can't really go into the mind of an animal, but I know what you're trying to say
In the
there.
state of mind, you can go into the state of mind at the perspective that there is an individual who is exploited and slaughtered for you for something that you don't need. So you can understand the perspective of somebody taking advantage of your body and using your body because they feel they can. So I'm asking you, do you think that the person or the individual or whoever it is, because the species doesn't really matter, but if you were to be taking advantage of them, do you think, well, you are, but if you were from that perspective that somebody's taking advantage of your body and then killing or destroying your body afterwards, do you think that it would be right or wrong if somebody did that to you?
If somebody did it to me, well, I wouldn't like that, obviously, as a human being, right? But that's the thing.
As a human being. But that's the thing. It's not that you wouldn't like it as a human being. You wouldn't like it because you would feel the repercussions of the exploitation, abuse, and slaughter being done to you. So why would you assume you are an animal because you are human? And why would you assume that animals who are sentient, who have the capability to feel just as much like you do, why would you assume that those animals would yet again not feel just as bad in a slaughterhouse like you would? Like, why do you think that you would feel worse in a slaughterhouse than an animal?
Oh, let's say they do feel bad. Let's say I agree. They're sad. They're like, oh no, I don't want to die. Still doesn't make it wrong just because somebody, for example, a lion eats a gazelle. He has no choice. He can't be vegan. You know that, obviously, unless there's some new invention, right? Wait.
You can.
Oh, good. Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, I know I can. But it doesn't.
Hold on.
Which makes it a moral obligation.
Guys,
I can. Why would you look at the lion?
Obligation on me. I don't have to.
Hold on. Let him talk for a second because everyone's just jumping in. Abu, go ahead.
Yeah, so I can be a vegan, but I don't want to. It's that simple because I believe God said we can eat meat. And there's nothing more to it. You believe a different viewpoint, right? You come to philosophical understandings. I completely respect that. I mean, good for you. You're right. And I also, like I said, I agree. Okay. We shouldn't do certain practices. It's not good, definitely. But I wouldn't throw away the baby with the bathwater. You know, the guy speaking before, the Christian, he was talking about some deficiencies. I mean, it's been a reoccurring pattern that there are obviously some things you can't get from vegetables, or you really have to look, and it's easy to miss out. So you really have to kind of be on point with that diet. So there's lots of, different points of view.
Abushan, I'm sorry for interrupting you there. First of all, just as a diet perspective, I'm a certified nutritionist. I've heard it. I've heard the things you're saying. You can thrive on a plant-based diet. You can thrive by eating animal products. I'm not here to say one or the other is superior. What we're here to say is that if you want to eat healthy, if you want to be a person who eat healthy, you're probably going to have to look out and be mindful about what you're eating regardless. Regardless if you're eating animal products or not, if you want to eat healthy, you'll have to be mindful. Number one. Number two, do you think it's, and that's just one question, do you think that the world would be a better place, or would it be better if we didn't exploit and slaughter animals? And I'm not talking about you consuming animal products or not. Let's assume that we would be creating plant-based meat or whatever. My question is, would the world be a better place if we didn't treat animals like objects?
No.
No, really?
Dishonest. Yeah, I mean, I know you're expecting to say yes, but the answer is no. But it's a bit
very dishonest.
Because
I'm not being dishonest, okay? We are vegan animals.
Hold on, let him respond. Let Abel respond to that. I'm actually interested in the response for this.
There's so many variables to consider, right? So it's kind of like the butterfly effect. You move one thing, different things could happen. So imagine we don't exploit any animals, as you put it, or use animals or whatever. Do you think there would be, like, for example, I think it's in New Zealand where there's like more sheep than what do you call it, people. Do you think there would be an imbalance in the life cycle? Because whether we like it or not,
how is that a response to the question?
Okay, I'm not really talking to you at the moment, but okay, let him. If he's not happy with the response, he can tell me.
You're waffling into a different question.
Maybe I am. Well, thank you for letting me know about that, because sometimes I do waffle, that's true. But, but actually now, the question now, I got thrown off course. What was the question again?
Hold on, I actually want to address something. If you find out that veganism or following a plant-based diet, just diet by itself, is super beneficial for the entire world, should that be something that people should advocate for and also do?
Okay, that's a different question now. That question makes more sense. So if it's super beneficial and I would say superior to consuming animals, then of course it's better. But just because I follow the vegan diet, it doesn't mean if I want to eat a steak, it's morally wrong. There's a difference. If I think it's better, I would do it. But morally wrong is a different issue.
Sure. But
so yeah, I mean, if it's superior, I would definitely be a vegan.
Okay, so if I show you some studies and show you that you should not consume animal products because of these qualities, would you ever consider not consuming animals?
Well, it depends on the study, and it depends on, because there's always going to be counter studies, isn't there?
What about an Islamic study?
An Islamic studies about what? Sorry.
That we should stay away from consuming animals, or more like an article.
So if it's talking about in terms of why it's better health-wise, or why it's better because of the hormones and the crap that we put into animals, then I would say, well, then what is it about the study?
The environmental, the big environmental reasons.
Oh yeah, environmental reasons is another thing, but there's a difference between morality. I'm just distinguishing between morality, like actually killing animals, and it being beneficial in another way.
So I'll just throw this out there. There's a thing in the side channel just for you, but I also want to go back to the moral real quick, right? If I was a victim of oppression and someone justified it because of their beliefs, do you think that would be okay as if I'm the victim? Or hold on. But a question is like, who do you think we should care about, the victims or the oppressors, when it comes to certain systematic oppression?
The victims, of course, yeah.
Cool. And if the victims are animals?
But I don't see them as victims. You're framing them as victims. I get what you're trying to say because you don't believe it's morally right. I view them as tools that God put on earth.
Hold on. If I said the same thing about women, would that be okay? If my belief said that it's okay to see women as tools rather than living beings.
Well, if your belief says that, I would disagree with it. But if you say, for example, a woman is a tool because she gives birth, a man is a tool because he has seed.
No.
But not in that kind of. It's a pragmatic.
No. He means in the same way that you say that animals are tools.
No, I wouldn't agree with that. No.
Okay, if I said I see women as livestock or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Then for example, if you see some individuals as livestock, but the other one not, what's so special about them? For example, what is the unique property that the animals have that if humans had it, would it be okay to oppress them?
You mean what's the essence that makes humans superior to animals, basically?
What's the trait difference? What's so special about humans that if we remove that special thing, you would justify farming humans like livestock?
Well, because thou shalt not kill. It's in the Bible, it's in the Quran, it's in basically even Hinduism, every other thing.
Is there like an asterisk? Is there like an asterisk to be after this claim, but not animals? Thou shalt not kill. Is there like an asterisk in the Quran that says, but you can't kill animals?
Well, not in. It doesn't say exactly verbatim, "Thou shalt not kill." That's the biblical reference I'm giving, which you may be more familiar with. But yeah, it says, "Don't kill unless it's for oppression or blah blah blah," and it's in the context of the whole chapter and verse is talking about humans. Other chapters explain where you can eat from what God has made lawful, including animals, except certain animals.
I want to go back to the original question. What's the unique property? What's the unique trait that humans have that if we remove that trait from human, it would justify us farming humans like we do with cows?
Well, there's no particular trait. I can just say a few things I assume, but they're not necessarily factual. They're just my opinion. But
that's fine.
When it comes,
if there isn't already a big trait difference, so if we can see two individuals, like there's no set trait property difference that justifies oppression, maybe we just shouldn't oppress. Just don't oppress either.
What about when it comes to vegetation? That's life. What's the difference, the essence between an animal and say a plant?
That's an amazing question. And there's actually a phenomenal word for it called sentience. Have you heard of the word sentience?
I have, yeah. But how do we know they're not sentient? I mean, new studies are showing that plants actually send pheromones to warn other parts of the tree that they're under attack. They feel stressed.
Make them sentient.
Hold on. That's fine. Wait, Val. It's a fair question. He's asking.
How do we know? How do we know? A jellyfish might not seem sentient to you, right? It just flops around in the sea, or plankton. Just because we cannot perceive it, it doesn't make it true. Any life, life is life. Now we're discriminating against life. Well, that life is not the same as this life. Therefore, I can do what I want with this life. I think it's just a way of, because you can't not eat anything.
Average. Just tell us when you're finished, because we can understand.
I'm done. I'm sorry. I know you're very respectful. I respect that. Sorry, go on.
Who would like to address plants have emotions?
I can address it really quickly.
Before you go on, just very briefly, and then you can carry on. Because you said because we don't see it. It's not whether we can see it subjectively. It's about like the science can actually tap into the anatomy of these animals, right? And if they see that they're lacking like a CNS, like a central nervous system, and a brain, that it has nothing to do with my subjective experience. Now, my subjective experience could help, because you can look at their behaviors. But if science shows, based on their anatomy, that they don't have a brain, right, then there is like no unit that actually receives pain.
Okay,
right?
No, I get what you're saying, yeah. But new studies are constantly coming out showing that things we didn't know were true are becoming true. Yeah, you just need to look at quantum physics. Like, what the hell? I don't even understand it fully. I'm saying, what if, the question is, this is a hypothetical for you guys. What if we do discover actually plants do feel they are a certain type of sentient. You know how, like, for example, we talk, but animals also talk, but in a different type of communication style, right? If they are then sentient, what do we do?
I can respond to all of that. So first of all, plants are not sentient. The reason you can tell.
It's hypothetical.
Let me finish.
Sorry, go on me.
Yeah. So first of all, they're not, and there's plenty of evidence that they're not. You can also tell by one simple thing. You know, when you go into an operation room, an operating room, you are about to get sewn. Your skin is broken. They're about to sew you up, or you're either going to do a medical procedure on you. They inject you with something that numbs your central nervous system, because you see pain, you feel it in the brain, and it travels through the central nervous system. Plants don't have either of those, either brain or a central nervous system. So there's no reason to believe that they have any form of sentience, as we know sentience. But I'll indulge in your hypothetical.
Sentience is not just pain, just to clarify, is it?
No, it's not. It's a subjective experience. To me, sentience is the most important part of sentience, is a subjective experience of the world. And that comes from the brain, by the way. It's an emerging property of brains. But I'll indulge in your hypothetical. And in your hypothetical, you said, what if plants, we find out that they have some form of sentience, right? Well, I would argue that even in that situation, it would still be morally preferable to be vegan. And you know why? Because most of the plants are actually grown to feed the animals. An animal that you would consume considerably more plants than you would otherwise eat yourself. So, in an essence, when you're not vegan, not only that you're exploiting and slaughtering a lot of animals, you would also killing a lot more plants in the process. So it would still, do you understand that even in that situation, even if plants were sentient, which we don't have to debate, you can look it up yourself, but even if you believe that they are, it would still be morally preferable to be vegan.
Okay, so but at that point, it wouldn't be about the sentience, it would just be about what's the lesser harm.
Well, you can see it that way. You can see if everything is sentient, if everybody is sentient, then yes, it is about a lesser harm, of course.
Yeah.
But since we know that plants are not sentient, then it isn't about lesser harm.
I also want to say, like, when it comes to vegan philosophy, it is also about reduction and elimination of harm. If you have to cause harm to some extent, do the least amount of harm possible. Let's say the dog wants to attack you or whatever, right? If you can spray it with a water bottle or whatever, that's the least amount of harm you can do to the animal, unless you have to escalate it to stop the dog from harming you.
Exactly.
Do the least harm.
The least harm, yeah. Well, I agree to a certain extent, but I just think this is what I was trying to say in the beginning, that it's very difficult to spread veganism. I don't know, it's not really, well, you are kind of trying to, let's say, convert to veganism, but it's very difficult when people have, like the Christians, there's a reason they are so adamant, or the Muslims too, is because they already have their own framework. Your framework is fine, I can understand where you're coming from, but it's all subjective. It's all I say, you say, and I give these logical arguments.
What? If you agree with us, then we both have either objective or subjective opinion on the matter. Why does it matter that it's subjective?
I mean, harming others.
I like red, you like blue, then just an opinion. It doesn't really matter. No one's right.
Well, it matters because there is a victim there. That's why it matters.
But what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with creating victims?
No, I agree. No, I agree. Victims are bad, but in your worldview, who cares? We're just outside the
I care. That's all that matters. I care.
But why do you care? You need to.
I care because I know the animals care as well, because I share this experience of sentience with them. I care because I would care if somebody exploited and killed me. And I know that the animals share that experience with me. They don't want to die. Yeah. That's why I care.
I know. I'm not saying
it's not so much about like whether you prefer red over blue, because that is like an aesthetic preference. We're talking about like a moral preference, and like, for instance, like the golden rule. Let's say, you know, I mean, I'm not sure whether you believe in it as a Muslim, I guess, right?
What is the golden rule?
Yeah, don't do unto others as you would not done unto you, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. So in other words, I mean, that's basically just an extension, and this has nothing to do with like black or like this has nothing to do with with blue, red, or yellow. This is just basically you have to look at the individual of the animal and see, okay, what kind of interest do they have? Humans don't want to be in pain. They want to experience some joy and happiness. They want to be with their families and friends. The same applies also, broadly speaking, to animals as well. Why would you frustrate their interest? Why would you frustrate their desire to live, to have joy, not to be in pain? Makes no sense. Unless they do something to you. Unless they do, I mean, if like a bull is attacking you, yeah, sure, you can frustrate their interest because you're also about to get frustrated in your interest not to be harmed. Therefore, yeah, you can defend yourself, but that also applies in a human context. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I completely get where you guys are coming from, and I respect you do have a sense of intense morality. I just think in the modern world, because we do exploit animals in such a heinous way, like it's not like before where people used to just, you know, farm, free, everything's quote unquote free range. I just feel like it's gone to from one extreme to another extreme, and extremism is not good in any sense.
Abu Cham, how is it? Hold on.
Okay, go on.
But how can you say it is extreme not to send animals like sentient? I would argue they're innocent because they've done nothing wrong. How can you say it's extreme not to kick them into a slaughterhouse? How is it extreme?
I'm saying the extremism is where you go from absolute exploitation, factory farms to not touching the thing. That is, there's no middle path. There's no medium way.
Well, you can touch them, but it depends how you explain like touching them. Obviously, if they need help, you can touch them to treat them, like as a veterinary or in a
touch like that. I mean, like as in like from complete exploitation and hurting and blah 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 to don't even eat it at all. Like that.
But what is so wrong? What is so wrong? They have no.
Wrong. I didn't say it's wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying you can be vegan all you like. But I don't believe, I'm arguing it's not morally wrong. Your morality, for example, this is a good one. For example, you know, abortion. People have different opinions.
Before you get to abortion, I have a question. Because I've been speaking to Abu for quite a while, and if I recall, I've been listening to this conversation for a bit. If I recall, Abu did say it's okay to kill animals for pleasure. So to be honest, I don't know. Yeah. So if somebody is at that level, guys, I don't know why we want to waste our time with somebody who's okay with being right?
Okay, but surgically, pleasure. My pleasure. I don't mean.
Abu Chan, can you let him finish? Can you let him finish?
I'm gonna moderate. Let's stop.
I can't hear. Who's speaking?
Yeah, like I was saying, so this person is okay with killing animals for pleasure, right? We've been discussing with them and everything. I think this is a waste of time, to be honest, of activist time. And be spending this time speaking to somebody more reasonable. Most people are against needlessly killing animals or killing animals for pleasure. And those are the people we need to be speaking to. We need to be focusing our energy to, not people who say outright, I'm okay with killing animals for my pleasure. That's just disgusting. And we shouldn't waste our time.
Why would you ask the question
But it's
if
not
you only
about
wanted one answer? That's kind of like...
Everyone keeps bashing the meat eaters for the animals getting killed, but no one's talking about all the animals that get slaughtered, the millions of animals that get slaughtered just to process the vegans' plants.
Yeah, we talk about it every single day.
Murder just to keep the vegans food in supply.
We talk about it every single day.
Let's move from one. Okay, let's Abu. We can talk about your whole morality later. We're gonna address other people's questions. If you have any questions that you still want to talk about, you can always type it in the chat. And if there's gonna be a vegan, we can always type between whatever's going on. Cool.
Of course. Thank you, guys. Been a pleasure. Take care.
Yep.
Sure.
Problem.
Okay, guys.
Okay. Who would like to address plant deaths from Surgeon?
Cheap.
Yeah, I can explain. Yeah. Oh, you can do all. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna do something super simple, but
yeah,
I didn't get the chance
but before you do that, I would because you made that claim, right, about like the crop deaths and all the other deaths that happen to the animals, right? So we have to establish two very important things. The very first thing is, because you seem to attack a certain value that we are holding, I want you, before I laid out my two factors or my two criteria. So the very first criterion is, what do you think is our value, right? Or my value, because or just my, and Chip, maybe you can summarize it briefly. Because if you misrepresent our values, you're basically attacking a straw man. So the very first thing is like the value that we're holding, roughly. You don't have to be completely specific, but roughly. Our value. And then second of all, if true, right, please provide empirics about, or like evidence about the claim that it is millions and millions of animals that die in a comparative sense. So you have to show that.
I'll answer number 2 first. Number 2 is easily answered if you look at all of the farmland across any country, anywhere in the world. A lot of the farmland, if you pay attention to how they have to actually take care of things, a lot of stuff, a lot of the plants that vegans eat get eaten by rabbits, moles, any vermin of that species, and the farmers have to go in and kill those animals to keep your food from being eaten. It's no different than us putting animals into a livestock house and killing them for food. And most of the time, the most animals that are raised in a livestock killing facility are there to be killed for food. They are there specifically for food. The animals that are out in dairy farms and stuff like that, majority of the time, they're used just to make products for dairy. Now, certain ones get killed off, but it's usually from old age.
No. They get killed off when they can no longer get them pregnant. That is not true. I'm sorry for interrupting you there, but you're just saying nonsense. So first of all, in the dairy production, I don't know if you know, but children, if they're born male, they are killed. And so are dairy cows when they can no longer get pregnant. So no, that is...
No. The flaw in that statement, the ones that are killed are usually the ones with defects. The ones that are born male that aren't used for anything, they are sent off to be used for bulls or reproduction purposes.
Nope, not all of them. No. Most of them are actually either grown up to 1 year or 2 years or killed off directly. And this isn't something that you can trust me on. This is something you can literally look it up, where all the farming practices are in your country.
Yeah, same thing for my stuff. You can look up everything I'm saying on Google.
Well, I personally have, I don't want to go down this, well, my information is better than your information.
I'm not doing that either. I'm just
regardless, all animals are killed at less than half their lifespan, less than half their natural lifespan.
But again, I think we have to come back to my point. It's about like the value that you're proposing to attack. Because first of all, the value that you're attacking. Because if you're attacking something wrong, we are actually not standing up for, then it's all built on a straw man. So you have to characterize or like give like a brief sketch of our position, and then you have. Hold on, please.
I'm not coming in here.
No. That's not. I'm just laying out my position. I'm just wanting to clarify. No, it's not about bashing. So that's the first thing, the value clarification. And the second point is basically you have to show, but not just by way of talking. You have to provide evidence that the counterfactual, namely not being a vegan, actually decreases death. Right. So start with the value clarification. What kind of value do we hold, roughly? You don't have to be specific, but just keep like certain points clear so that we know that we are on the same boat.
Is this based off of just what I've heard or stuff that I know? That's the clarification.
It's okay. Either way, just try to briefly sketch out like what vegans are holding in general. Maybe
what do you think being vegan means?
Well, from having vegan friends, what I learned from them having it before they started eating meat is they did it based off their religion and their own moral values. That's why they did it. And it wasn't because they chose to eat plants. They did it because of what they believed in.
So what is
that's why it's hard to. That's why it's hard to answer this question, because to answer this question, it's kind of a trap because you're stuck on whichever side you're rooting for.
I'm gonna help you. We're gonna help you a little bit. I'm gonna help you just a little bit. What do you, as an individual, what do you think veganism is? And then we can kind of go from there.
To me, it's literally just eating plants to avoid killing animals and eating meat.
So just to clarify, I'm sorry, that's what veganism is to you. I just like, veganism is not that, okay? Veganism is a moral position where we reject the idea that animals should be exploited and slaughtered for us. Okay, do you understand what that means?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's not about food, because animals are exploited and slaughtered for other reasons also, like for clothing, like for entertainment, right? So veganism is a moral position where we reject that. Of course, as a consequence, you're not going to eat their flesh, given that you don't need to, correct?
Shadow, please. Shadow, be quiet, please. I don't want to mute.
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. So given that we do not need... So veganism, as I said, it's a moral principle where we respect animals No, you have to mute the. Thank you.
Yeah,
so veganism is a moral position where we respect animals, right? So can you really respect animals if you choose for them to be oppressed for something that you don't actually need, whether that is food, whether that is clothing, whether that is entertainment? If you don't need to do it, how is it that you're giving them the respect that they deserve? The bare minimum of not exploiting and slaughtering them.
Fair, but you can't base your needs based off your circumstances. You have to look at it as a picture in whole, like the entirety of a population, not just one side.
Well, I'm not talking to the entirety of population. I'm talking to you, and you as an individual can make better choices. And you as an individual, maybe you've heard some of the conversations here. We've already agreed that there may be parts of the world where it's difficult to be vegan. But if you live in a part of the world where you can do it, then you have even more of a responsibility to do it, because you know why? If you can do it and you choose to do it, it will become easier in other parts of the world so that they can do it also. Because there might be parts of the world where people really don't want to be exploiting and slaughtering animals, and according to you and according to others, that they may have to. So you're essentially putting people also in a position where they morally don't agree with.
Yeah, but that's just morals. But when you look at it as an entirety of like a whole and for the benefit of species, no matter which side you're on, food
so
is
which
food.
benefit? Well, no, because first of all, food is not food. This isn't a food that the species benefits from. None of our species benefit from this. Do you know why? Because it consumes considerably more land, so it's worse for the environment. It's worse for society, because you know what? When you live in a society where you can exploit and slaughter sentient beings...
Can we let him finish?
Hold on. Yeah, so we're asking a moral question, right? So the whole idea is like, is it okay to exploit other individuals if I get the benefit of it?
Well, I have to mute her.
Surgeon.
Yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so the whole idea, it's not about like, if I get health benefits, or if this, or if that, it's about the individual as in the victim. If we are in a position where we don't have to exploit the victim, but we get benefits from it. Let's say, I don't know, let's say I can punch my dog, I can literally, put him on a wall and use him like a punching bag because I don't want to spend money on a punching bag, right? Is that moral rather than is it beneficial?
But that's such a wild ass statement. No one on this planet is gonna think to use their dog as a punching bag, though. That's a trap question in itself.
What I'm trying to show you, it's the idea of morals rather than the benefits, right? So you get the right idea that it is wrong to do that, even though I get benefits from doing that, right?
Yeah, like, right. So what Felix is trying to say, the surgeon, by the way, right? If you take a dog, which is a sentient being, you take them, you sedate them so they don't feel pain, yeah, right? And then you kill them, then you hang them by one leg and you punch them to death, right? Well, they're already dead, so you just punch them. You get benefit from it. You know why? Because you can get exercise.
Would do that. That's
let me finish. Before you make a judgment call, just be aware that I would also argue that only psychopaths would exploit and slaughter innocent sentient beings to put their flesh in their mouth. Okay? So let's not make judgment call. Let's focus on the idea, okay? So on this idea that if it's wrong to take a dog, hang them by one leg, and punch them so that you get exercise, what is the difference between doing that to the dog, right? Killing them so that you can get exercise, or killing them so that you can get your flesh and their flesh and put it in your mouth? What exactly is the difference?
Those are two opposite points. One is eating it,
and
and
what is the difference?
For no reason.
Oh, hold on. You're onto something. No. Wait, he's onto something. You do one for pleasure, and you do the other one for pleasure. We're asking, like, maybe both of them are wrong.
The thing that confuses me is he keeps using as an example, like hanging something up, beating it, compared to eating it. That one is on the.
Okay, let's be clear. Okay, maybe make it a bit clearer. Okay, so. Two things always. This is like my go-to way. First of all, we have to establish, do you think it is a necessity to eat animal products in your context, in your circumstance?
Well, I
yes
eat
or no?
both meat and vegetables.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes or no? No. I know.
I know. One or the other.
Oh, Jesus, people are bad at this.
Hold on. When I'm saying that you can. I'm also referring to the outcome, right? Is it possible as an outcome to be healthy as a vegan in your circumstance for you?
Me personally, no, I don't think I could be healthy as a vegan. Now, my vegan friends, but hold on, to back up your side, my vegan friends, they were relatively healthy. But but I noticed that after, when they went from eating vegetables to eating meat and vegetables, they got significantly more healthy and they put on more muscle mass and etc.
Oh, brother.
Now, I don't care about how you look. I'm just looking at the statistics of either side. And
so if you were, I'm just curious, what would convince you that you can thrive, and by thrive I mean be as healthy as you can be, build as much muscle as you want, what would convince you that you can do all that on a plant-based diet?
If Arnold Schwarzenegger said that he only ate plants.
What? Dude, am I a joke? You look at me, I'm a fucking vegan. I've been vegan for almost 6 years. This year it will be 6 years. I'm an athlete. Like, do you think I'm looking?
No, you just asked me what would convince me. I'm not bashing. You asked what would convince me.
No, I know.
Around and attack me based off of that.
That's fine.
We need to.
But I think it's a high bar. Hold on. I think it's a high bar to expect that like Arnold Schwarzenegger goes vegan. We have no control over his behavior, right?
Yeah.
Instead, we could look at other athletes' behavior who actually are also high performing.
Well,
by the way,
real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but if we're looking at aspects like you just said, take for example a lion in the wild versus a zebra in the wild. The zebra eats plants to keep itself healthy.
Yeah, but
the lion has to eat that zebra in order to keep itself healthy. If lions could eat grass, you would see them eating grass, but they don't eat grass; they eat meat.
Yeah, but hold on.
Is that an argument for anything?
Stop. We need to address one thing at a time. Just real quick, if Arnold Schwarzenegger said, hey, you should take heroin and crack cocaine together to be as good looking as me, should we follow his advice?
Yeah, it's like an appeal to celebrity. It's like an appeal to celebrity. That's what you're doing.
What if Arnold Schwarzenegger would say take steroids, which we all know that he did? Would you see it as important that you take steroids?
To be healthy.
No.
To be healthy.
No, it doesn't really matter. So the reason why I asked this question, what would convince you that we can thrive on a plant-based diet, is because you know what? We have empirical data. We have studies. We have top of the studies, top of the quality evidence that you can thrive on it, and we have several examples of it also. So I don't see what else convincing you need. You say your friends are healthy. You see people yourself. It just feels to me like you're trying to use it as a justification for you yourself to not be, but in reality you know that you can be.
But like I said, it's to each person their own preference. Like, I'm not trying to bash you for what you eat.
But this isn't a preference thing. Listen, food can be a preference, you're right. But this isn't about the preference. This is about the fact that one of your preferences is putting innocent victims into slaughterhouses. This is about their thing, their life. It has nothing to do with what you eat.
This has nothing to do with like, this has nothing to... Hold on. This has nothing to do with like, we don't like meat or cheese or dairy, or we like more vegetables. It has nothing to do with that. We actually can still prefer the taste of meat, which is why we can have these mock meats, but we choose not to purchase the original thing because it causes significant exploitation and harm. Right? It's not diet per se. It goes beyond just being a diet. Right? It doesn't stop at being a diet. It's basically like you could see veganism as an extension of like, say, of human rights. We want to extend certain liberty or like certain freedoms to animals too, because they can suffer. Yeah, can you hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly fine. But the same thing goes for plants, because you guys have the same argument that the same as animals are sentient, so are plants.
Plants are not sentient.
There's asymmetry. Because plants are not sentient. That's the thing. They're not conscious.
Yes, plants are sentient. They have bodily functions. They have bodily functions that they do, which
that doesn't matter. That's not sentience.
Wait. Let's learn a new word. What is sentience?
Sentience isn't just about intelligence.
Wait,
it's
Surgeon.
definitely not just about intelligence.
Guys. Maybe Surgeon has a wrong idea what sentience is.
Yeah.
Sentience is consciousness, being alive.
Yeah, that has nothing to do.
No.
Wait. We'll let Postmortem explain sentience real quick.
So sentience is the ability to have consciousness. That's correct.
Wait, you said postmortem what?
Yeah, I'm talking postmortem. Probably, I think they muted me, so tell them to unmute me first, maybe.
Do you have them muted, by the way? Surgeon?
I did for a second, yeah, I did.
Yeah,
okay,
unmute me.
That would explain.
Okay, they're unmuted now. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go again.
Awesome. So I have on the screen that I'm sharing an explanation of what sentience and how it works. So sentience is the ability to have consciousness. You were correct about that. It's not about intelligence or life. There could be a living being who is not sentient. That could be a sentient being that is not particularly intelligent. It doesn't have a very high consciousness the way we do. But sentience, generally speaking, is a biological...
Wait. What's the source for this information?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. So it's called Debunking a Myth, Plant Consciousness. They go through how, on a cellular level, the plants can't be sentient, and also on a body structure level. So in order for you to be sentient, first of all, you have to be an animal. You can't be sentient plant. It's biological impossibility. The cells can't transmit information fast enough for sentience to occur. Also, once you are an animal, in order for you to be sentient, you have to have a brain and a central nervous system. So a nervous system that runs against your spine, all over your spine. So the way sentience occurs in somebody is that we have all these senses, like the ocular senses, the eyes. So you can see something, your brain interprets it, and it fires a feedback, right? Including, that goes for all other senses as well, like the sense of touch, the sense of hearing, and all that stuff. That's what creates consciousness. So plants have none of that stuff.
Okay, but here's my argument to that, because that's your belief. But my argument is
that's not a belief. I gave you evidence for it. That's not a belief.
But if you were to snap a piece of a plant, would that part of that plant not die off? Same as if you were to.
Yeah, that's just a part of being alive.
Would also die off.
Yeah, it will die off, but it's not sentient. Therefore, I don't care. It doesn't care if it lives or dies. Because there is nobody in there to care about it. There is no brain, there is no nervous system, there is no consciousness.
They don't care if they live or die. They're just aware that they exist.
No, they're not aware. There is literally no structures in them.
Go look at videos of horses being talked to, and you'll see horses responding to people talking to them in a way that shows that it's sentient, but it just knows it exists. It doesn't know.
There is literally there is a biological impossibility for plants to be sentient. There is no possible.
So while I'm back,
it makes also even from a psychological point of view. I think this was also mentioned in that paper that you just sent, but I'm not entirely sure. Even from a psychological point of view, it makes no sense because like all sentient beings, be it even a snail up to higher mammals, they have like two learning principles, and that is based on, I'm not sure whether you heard of it, it's like a Pavlovian conditioning and operant conditioning. So basically, if you pair, let's say, a stick... Sorry?
Because I want to quickly address something. Like, it's gonna, like, we can do all of this education, but the paper is already in the side channel. And I just want to quickly just go and just say, like, if the case is that the plants are sentient, if we only eat plants, there will be less suffering. And as I explained again with veganism before, veganism is about reducing and eliminating exploitation as much as we can, right? And if we have to cause suffering, then the least amount of suffering is the best thing to do. Ta-da!
Yeah.
We don't have to go.
It makes no sense that it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Hold on.
No, it's not based on perspective, because our way of generating knowledge is based on evidence, on science.
Yes, but we are sentient. If we decide to not do one thing or the other, then it just is what it is.
Right.
It is based on your perspective.
Hold on, I just quickly want to address about just to make the conversation flow a little bit easier. If you, surgeon, if you believe that we shouldn't abuse animals for pleasure, then by by that you're gonna have a vegan philosophy.
Which I do agree.
There you
Killing
go.
animals here is wrong. There's a difference for doing it for pleasure, like i.e. for sport, and then for food.
Yeah, for
Now,
food is
here's
also for
something-
pleasure, damn
I
it.
agree that killing for
Yeah.
sport is terrible because that just
So-
leads to extinction.
Now here's a fun little question. Let's say you have two plates, where one plate is vegan and the other one, let's say a KFC or whatever, right? But for the KFC one, you have to cause suffering to animals. Would you say it's preferable for you to just eat the plant-based ones because there is way less suffering, or even no suffering if we just go by, yeah?
No, honestly speaking, I would eat both. I don't. If I'm being real with you, like 90% of the other humans on this planet, food is just food to us.
No, but here's a question. Why would you choose? Why would you choose the KFC over like the plant-based one?
For me, it's just taste preference.
Okay.
But okay,
and now-
okay, but yeah.
Chip, go ahead.
No, I was just like, so what Felix presented you was with two situations where you have equal nutritional values, right? Or similar nutritional values. And what you said, what you said is that you would choose the animal-based product based on taste preference, right? Well, taste is nothing more than a sensory pleasure, is it not?
Fair.
Yeah.
So when you're making this choice, you're choosing to exploit and slaughter an animal out of taste, out of
Okay, but
sensory
you keep bashing
pleasure.
the fact that I eat meat, and yes, the animals get exploited in the process, but the same goes for keeping the soy plants alive, keeping the green bean plants alive. Animals
Listen,
are
before
still
we
killed
move on,
to keep
before
food up on both sides.
Before we move on to this crop death argument, which you made already, if I'm not mistaken, right? Before we move on to this, do
Yes,
you
but the crop
agree
death-
that
but the
before
crop
you get,
death
we'll
statement I
tackle
made
it.
was killed
We'll
off
tackle
with
it.
the presentation of
Okay.
presentation of
address-
sentience between animals and plants.
Hold
We'll
on, we'll
tackle
It
it.
got
address,
killed off quickly. It was not allowed for me to defend it.
we will
Felix, let me
address
just-
plant death.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get everything in order so you can actually go one by one. So, yeah, go ahead, Chip.
I was just gonna say, like, do you agree that then, when you choose to consume animal products, you choose it out of pleasure?
It's not just pleasure, it's also based on how you were raised. So if you were raised vegan, you're going to think
convenience.
vegan. If you were raised meat eater,
Habit.
you're going to think meat eater.
Yeah, habit, tradition,
At the end of the day,
convenience,
it's
and
all just-
pleasure.
I'll
It's not
stop.
one that's
Stop.
better than the other.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, Surgeon, go ahead. I'm just trying to stop other people from just jumping in. So you
Yeah,
said
at the end of the day, it's based on how you were raised, what environment you grew up in, regardless of area, food supply shortage, however food is preferred. At the end of the day, it's brought up on your age, sorry, I'm sitting here stumbling. It's based on where you were raised, how you were raised to eat, and your values, beliefs, and beliefs on what you should and shouldn't eat.
Can I ask a question to help Chip a little bit? Do you think culture and tradition should dictate morals?
That one is not a question for me. That is more of a question that I
what
would
do you
take in
think?
prayer. But
What do you think? What do you think?
I mean, I guess it would play a part, but again, that's
Should
a
it?
wider question that banks off all the topics we're talking about.
I can give you a
should it?
super I can give you a super easy example, right? Super easy. Let's say my culture and my tradition views certain race of humans as lower. Should I take morals from my tradition or culture?
At the end of the day, that comes down to your individual self. It's your
What
culture.
do you think?
At the end of
What
the
do
day,
you
culture or not, at the end of the day, no matter what culture you're a part of,
I
it comes down to
understand.
what you
I
believe.
understand the big image. I understand all of this. I'm asking you, should I take my morals from a culture that sees, I don't know, different colored people as lower than me? Should I?
I mean, you could, but the fact I'm struggling with is how this has to tie into
Wait, so-
veganism and meat eating.
I will literally pinpoint it. Could you just give me yes or no response, if possible for you? Should I take morals from a culture that sees others as lower than me? As in other humans?
No, no one should.
Ta-da! Okay, awesome.
So-
And
so
let's
the
tie
reason-
it back to veganism. Chip, go ahead. Tie it back to veganism.
Yeah. So the reason why Felix asked this is because you said that it matters where you're born, how you were raised, and all of this. And while we agree with you that certain people, based on their upbringing, may have a difficult or easier or difficult time considering this and considering veganism, right? The question isn't whether it is easier or more difficult based on that. The question is, should that even matter in your decision whether to go vegan or not? Because veganism is a moral principle. It's something whether it is moral or immoral. So what Felix was saying, if your morals should not be affected by the society that you grew up in, by the habits that you grew up with, then surely your decision to go vegan or not should not be affected by either of those also, correct?
Oh, well then in that retrospect, you explained it better than Felix did. Felix just gave me the option of if one race hates another. That's how I took that when he said that. No, but based off of what you're saying, it does matter where you're raised, how you're raised up, and stuff like that. Depends on if you're going to be vegan or not.
Hold on. The surgeon, do you know about ease versus ought problem?
No, but I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know if I trust your sources because I see you're able to go in and edit that, and if it was published, you shouldn't be able to edit.
Well, you can just like Google it. It's called ease ought problem. Right? You don't have to trust me on it. So the is ought problem is, I'm just going to explain it a little bit and you can check my sources entirely, is that you are trying to derive an ought, what we should do, what we morally should do, from an is, what exists right now. And that's an issue because it's changing.
On that topic, food is a necessity, and no matter where you get it from, we can all agree that food is a necessity to keep yourself alive, correct?
Sure, and then you go into what kind of food you ought choose, right? And then it becomes there is more moral food and there is less moral food, and then there is food that has no moral questions around it, right?
I guess.
Yeah, so that's an ease. That's a matter of fact. There is food that is more morally obtained, and then there is food less morally obtained. And then the question is, do you have the moral obligation? Should you choose the less morally problematic food?
Well, either side's going to have its problems, like, for example, the killing of animals in a factory versus the killing of vermin in fields.
We can address that in a second. We're just trying, frankly, to educate you on how to have a conversation about morality. Because it was already addressed, by the way, the crop fields situation, that much less animals are killed for the production of plant foods than for the production of animal foods, right? So again, there is a food that has more moral problems, it's more morally problematic. Surgeon, please let me finish. So there is a food that is more problematic, there is a food that is less problematic. So the question is, should you choose the food that is less problematic?
Again, that comes down to based on your preferences.
What is your preference?
I eat both, so it doesn't matter to me.
No, what is your moral preference?
Oh, like in terms of like how I view the way they're processed?
What should you do, not what is. What is that you eat both. You eat both plants and you eat animals. What should you do? Do you prefer to be more moral or less moral is the question, basically.
Oh, well, if we're answering it that way, then it would be you should do what you prefer.
And what is your preference? To do the more moral thing or the less moral thing?
Wait. But whichever puts food in my stomach and keeps me healthy.
What is your preference morally? Not ease. Don't run into ease.
Wait. I don't think they understand the exact question. I can make it a little bit easy. So, surgeon, like, do you see less suffering as a good thing?
Generally, as every human, yes.
Cool. So, if we could demonstrate you two diets where diet A causes a lot of suffering and diet B causes the least amount of suffering, which one is more preferable for you? Let's say the more suffering, it tastes really good, but less suffering doesn't taste as good, but it's, the option is still there.
then people are just gonna have to hate me because I'm gonna go with the side that produces the more amount of food.
That wasn't what my question was.
Oh, hold on. The side that produces the more amount of food. I have an answer to that. That would be plant food.
Wait. We'll get to it. We'll get to it slowly in terms of the science. But I just want to address this one thing. Let's say you have 2 plates. The more suffering gives you more pleasure. The less suffering doesn't give you more pleasure. It's just like, it's okay, right? Which one in these 2 plates is the better choice for you? More suffering, more pleasure, or less suffering, okay pleasure?
I'm gonna have to go with the first one because I know what the first one is entailing, and it's just based off my preference and how I was raised and what kind of food we consume.
So can I ask, your preference is more suffering for more pleasure?
I wouldn't use the word pleasure because pleasure gives it a bad rap. I would say not pleasure be the word to use.
But we already established that it was pleasure. Yeah, like we already went through all of it, that the only distinction that the only reason why you make this choice is out of pleasure. The only reason why you think you should make this choice is out of pleasure. Let me be exactly precise with it, because you said that you make this choice out of convenience or out of tradition, and we already went through all that, and you said that, those should not be the decision makings whether something is moral or not. So now we ended up with this point.
That is you pushing your beliefs on me, though.
Wait.
No, you said it.
Wait, guys.
No, I understand I said that, but he keeps pushing the fact that it's pleasure. I don't view it as pleasure. I look at
you literally admitted it.
Guys.
I look at convenience versus...
Let Felix say something, please.
Yeah, I want to kind of address these kind of things, because my whole question was about pleasure and suffering, right? So if the only 2 options is more pleasure, more suffering, or less pleasure, okay, or whatever, like more suffering for more pleasure, less pleasure, less suffering, right? If these are the only 2 options you have, which one is more preferable for you? And then we can get into like the logistics of it.
But that's a question in itself, because either one deals with pleasure, and then you favor one over the other, and I favor one over the other.
But my question for you is, which one would you choose? Would you be okay with more suffering?
I get that, but my answer is I have no answer, because either way I answer, it's going to be turned around against me.
No.
Not turned around against you. You just say like you favor one over the other, okay? Like why do you favor one over the other?
That's a more fair question. Okay, so I prefer the first one because of, 1, accessibility and convenience. If it's easier, just let me explain. If it's easier for people to slaughter animals to get food compared to tilling the land and killing the vermin off, which is each side has its own amount of hard work into what it has to have done.
I have to jump in and just say, like, my question wasn't about convenience. It was just about those 2 variables, nothing else. That's all we know. Those 2 variables, pleasure and suffering, right? That's the only variables. And then we can get a bit more technical with our stuff, right? So
but you're trying to trap me with choosing pleasure or suffering, and that's not a good debate.
I'm not trying to trap you. I'm just trying to understand your. Hold on. I'm not trying to trap you. I'm trying to understand your specific ethics. Because if you believe that pleasure is worth more than suffering, then I have no reason to talk to you, right? But if you choose that, hey, maybe less suffering for less pleasure is better, I want to know why. Why for you less suffering is better? So that's the reason why I'm like that's like the entire question that I presented to you.
Okay, well, is the pleasure versus suffering thing, is that solely just based off of the diet, or is that the people? Is that considering just the people eating those diets?
I'm just asking you about it.
You're asking me, but I'm asking you a question back, and you keep deflecting back the same question to me, even though I'm trying to ask you to clarify what I'm asking.
Okay, I'll make it super easy. Which one is more preferable for you? Causing more suffering or more pleasure? Or which one? Like if you have let's say like a line where there's a lot of pain for pleasure, or the least amount of pain for the least amount of pleasure, where would you position yourself on the line?
Well, based on my life, I'm in the portion of more pain, more pleasure, because I've experienced nothing but pain in my life, and I've got less pleasure in my life than I have more pain. So
what?
Okay. I guess.
Sorry that you felt that way. First of all, if you had a life where you had to suffer, I'm sorry that you felt that way. First of all, second, listen, I feel like this is going in a lot of directions, and I just like I'll just answer if everybody's okay. I'll just answer the whole crop deaths thing that you've been asking from the beginning, because I feel like what essentially what you're saying is that there is no good way of eating, and what Felek is trying to explain to you, and what we've been trying to explain to you really, is that when you are consuming a plant-based diet, you are minimizing the amount of harm, you are getting taste pleasure, you are getting nutrition, you are getting all of it that you need from it. Now, I understand that maybe you were taught to eat in one way your whole life, but that's what we were all in that position.
Yeah.
It's just that we are all adults and we are responsible for the actions that we are doing. And if something that we are doing, we consider it to not be okay, or that we consider it that, well, maybe there's a better way of doing it, then we as adults have a responsibility to change what we are doing. You understand that?
Well, yeah, but that still ties into what you prefer, your preference.
Well, no, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. At the end of the day, we're arguing about is eating vegan food less suffering and more pleasurable compared to eating meat, which has more suffering and is still pleasurably enjoyed by people. And then there's people in the middle that eat both.
Let's separate two things. Do you agree that a plant-based diet consists of considerably less suffering?
No, I don't.
No, so you don't agree. Why is it that you don't agree? Because you think animals are killed also in crop production, correct?
Yes, and there's proof to back that up. Watch countless farm documentaries.
No, of course. Okay, so let me address this issue for you, okay? So first of all, animals are indeed killed in crop production, but there's several things to be said here. Number one, animals when are killed in crop production, they're killed with the intent to protect the crops. Most farmers do not want to kill these animals, they want to deter them. And a lot of the times, instead of killing animals, they will try to deter animals from coming to those crops, first of all. Second, all those people who kill animals in crop productions are not vegans themselves. If they were vegans, they would probably not tackle the issue this way. They would probably not kill the animals, but maybe try to even remove them from the crops, so not kill them even in the first place. Third, there is this one big and the most important part of it, which you need to remember, is that animal agriculture depends on crop agriculture. And by that, I mean that when you will be purchasing an animal product, that animal was fed crops. And in fact, most of the crops that we grow for food are grown to feed the animals. So if there's a certain number of animals that die in crop production, obviously when you consume an animal product, more animals will die in that crop production. Do you understand that?
Yeah, me personally, I just think it's even on each side. That's just me personally. It's going to be really hard to convince me otherwise.
But so wait, if I were to show you that most of the crops are grown for the animal feed, that most of the crops for food are grown for animal feed, would you then agree that there are considerably more crop deaths grown for animal products?
No. Human consumption eats more than animal consumption.
So wait a minute.
If we're talking about
you cannot
farmland in general.
So if mathematics,
humans eat more plant life than animals do.
No, they wouldn't. It's simple. It's simple physics, man. It's simple. It's the first law of thermodynamics. The energy that you put into one animal cannot possibly be the energy that you get out of that animal. Do you understand that? So any amount of calories that animal eats,
completely different.
No, it's exactly this. Listen to what I'm saying. Any amount of that calories that animal eats, you will not get the same amount of calories. So that animal will inherently eat more plants. Do you understand that? Than you would otherwise eat. Say that again.
The same thing goes for humans.
No, a human would eat less. Do you understand that? You would consume. Let me put it this way. If I tell you that it takes up to 6 times more land to grow 1 gram of animal protein versus 1 gram of plant protein, does that not tell you, and most of that land is coming from crop production, does that not tell you that obviously there will be more crop deaths?
Yes. You're going straight to the source when you eat plants. You're getting it secondhand for animals.
Yeah, so I have on my screen research from Oxford University. They checked a bunch of farms and a bunch of processors. They found large differences in environmental impact between, well, I'm coming to it, there is also a matter of land, and environmental impact between producers of the same product. High impact beef producers create 155 kilograms of CO2 equivalent and use 370 meters square of land per 100 grams of protein, whereas plant per 100 grams of protein only use 1 meter square.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know how big a meter is. I don't know math.
It doesn't matter, you have 1 meter or you have 105 meters for the same amount of grams of protein.
Yeah, but you're not understanding. I don't understand the measurement in meters. I'd have to see it in inches.
No, turn it into pounds, that's fine.
Guys, 1 yard is the same as 1 meter. But just even like in that sense, just think of the bigger numbers or smaller numbers, okay?
So it takes 1 yard to grow 100 grams of plant protein, and it takes 370 yards square, whatever, to grow the same amount of protein from an animal. So most of that land comes from growing crops for the animal.
Yeah, and the surgeon, it sounds like you're American.
I guarantee
Wait, the surgeon, it sounds like you're American, brother. I'm American too. So from an American perspective, an easy way to put this, to conceptualize it, in the United States, 70%, so use percentages is a little easier to conceptualize, 70% of U.S. agricultural land and natural resources we utilize to cultivate that land, right? Like the water, the energy, the labor. 70% of that goes to animal agriculture. 70% to feed our populace. It only takes 30% of the produce that you have now.
Okay, well, see, I didn't know that.
I know. I didn't know it either, brother. That's why when I started learning it,
and that's okay.
This is what put me on the path of veganism.
Yeah, we're not here to judge what you've been doing. We're here to help you change. Say it again.
I said, no, I'm forever going to eat meat and plants. You won't change me off that.
Yeah, that just makes you a zealot.
That's not a really logical position, right? It's just an emotional, egotistical one. If you've decided that, the Earth is flat and there's nothing I can present to you to prove to you the Earth is a globe, you're not a very rational man to talk to, right? Because you don't care about truth. You don't care about embodying truth. You just care about caring about whatever you've decided you care about for the sake of caring about it. Well, that's not really a way to live life.
I also want to address one more thing. Like, sure, you don't have to change like what you eat or whatever, but we at least want to educate you that what you're doing is, like, in this case scenario, there's shit ton of environmental impact just for your own pleasure. If you're okay with that, whatever. But we're trying to educate you to show you that, hey, maybe you don't know these things, so we're just gonna show you, the science of it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like, yeah, I just learned something new. Like, I didn't know it took that much work to produce meat-like products compared to plant products.
Surgeon, then do you agree that there's considerably more harm being done when you're consuming animal products versus plant products?
Well, knowing this information, yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's fair enough.
Thank you. So then do you agree that it is morally preferable to have a plant-based diet if you have the option to do it?
Well, if you have the option, again, that ties into your own preference. I can't give you a straight
An option is not a preference. You either have an option or you don't have an option.
What do you mean preference isn't an option?
No, an option is not a preference.
No. Yeah, option and preference are two different circumstances, right? If I prefer to do something is very different than whether I have the option or not the option, right?
Well, then, even then, that's still not a fair argument, because if you only have an option to eat one thing, then you're going to eat that.
Yeah, the question was...
All we're pointing out, brother, is that you don't. You do have an option to eat something better, right? So that's you may have the preference to eat the thing that's worse, but if you could at least understand that the preference you have based on the options you have available to you, therefore you're choosing the worst option, even though that's your preference.
Yeah.
Fair. And then I would say that would tie into also any religion you have. That would also dictate your preference or choice of what you eat.
Okay.
I'm not sure how religion.
Either way, let me ask you this. So you agree that your preference is the one that creates more harm and thus the less moral one. Let's just put it this way, right?
I guess so. I guess people just have to hate me for that.
Okay, so
Well,
then
I don't
let me
hate
ask you
you for it,
this.
brother. I just, yeah.
Yeah, you've made great steps and we appreciate the patience. So now let me ask you this. Do you think that it is okay for would somebody be acting morally if they would be choosing their own preference over the harm that they are causing?
Yeah, that would just come down to the individual person.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. If you were on the other side and you were about to be harmed, would you consider it morally if somebody were harming you, but it's their preference to do so?
That is a trap question I won't answer.
Well, it is simply, I'm simply
it's not
putting
necessarily
you...
a top question. It's just a litmus test. It's testing the consistency of your own framework.
Okay, well,
Yeah, it taps. Yeah, it taps
We're trying to
into
see if you actually
impartiality.
believe what you believe.
It taps into impartiality. Basically, this is very important. Like being, or at least attempting to be impartial, right? Because if you constantly talk about your preferences, we have to look. Well, what are your preferences? Are your preferences also taking into account others, or is it just like an egoistical drive to satisfy all the time your urges and your interests? Right, so it's about attempting to be impartial at some level.
Well, no, we're all human. We're going to have our differences. We're not always going to agree.
But the reason why I ask you this...
Here, brother, Sergeant, I think this is what's interesting. Here we do agree. We actually just proved that we agree. The only difference is, right, it's not that we agree, it's just what we choose to do with what we agree on. That's the difference here, right?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so let me put it this way.
These questions are just so confusing.
So let me put it this way, Surgeon. You said that morally, preference should matter more than suffering. So if you're saying that that's your perspective that you're saying right now, then surely if you were on the other side of it, you would consider it moral if somebody did that, right?
Okay, but if you were suffering from a food shortage of one thing or the other, and you only had one to eat, would you still eat it?
Probably.
Well,
I wouldn't
sure, brother,
listen.
but I'm not on a food desert, right? Like if I'm on I'm a
Exactly.
vegan, right? If you drop me on a desert island, okay, and there's a couple coconuts and a chicken, all right, I'm going to find it my moral responsibility in valuing my life, and the options I have available to me, to do everything I can to not eat the chicken. But if those are exhausted and I don't have a choice, right? I have to make a choice. I don't have options. So therefore, even though it's I would still consider it morally not ideal or good, right? It's not weighed the same way as if I had a choice to choose something different or die, right? So this is not analogous to what we're doing in our life, right? We're walking into a grocery store. It's all there. It's just a question of where we place our hand. You have the option. And so therefore the moral consideration and the moral responsibility is there, because whatever I place my hand on, either way has consequences that I can reasonably measure and see. So the one that has less consequences, because I have the option to choose it, is the morally better option.
Okay, well then that makes this whole conversation and debate not even about veganism or meat eating. This whole debate has been nothing about your morals and your values.
Exactly.
Well, of course it is. I'm failing to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the
But
reason
I don't
why
understand,
we
because
have
I
these...
thought this debate was about which one was better, not about your morals.
Well, the surgeon, the reason why what we've gone so far with you is that you have acknowledged that it is morally preferable to consume a plant-based diet because there is less suffering. We've acknowledged, I hope that you don't bite the bullet and you say that preference should dictate over suffering. I don't think that is your actual choice. That's just something you're acting on right now, but I don't think that you believe that rationally. So if you don't believe that rationally, then where we're going at is that maybe you will acknowledge that when you are consuming animal products, you are acting immorally according to your own values, because you are putting your preference.
Well, no, because I'm a Christian man, and the Lord says He gave us all seed-bearing plants to eat and animals as well.
So
He gave us
but brother, the point is, you
gave us
could do
dominion
those.
over the entire earth.
Yeah, but brother, even if that's the case, right? Again, great. We have dominion over the earth. Cool. So we have power to make decisions. Okay. But how we weigh the ethics, the moral value of those decisions, right, is on their outcome. So if I have the option as a steward of this earth that I've been given dominion over, if I have the choice, right, I have the power to choose one with less suffering, then it would be my moral obligation, and how I would weigh how moral of a man I am is on my ability to choose the one within my reach that has less negative impacts to the thing that I'm governing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's basically it, brother. It's that simple, you know? Like, I came from the same thing you came from. It sounds like I had that same kind of rationale that I was contending with. And as I learned more about this, ironically enough, I spent a year trying to reconcile that and find and justify my bias as I learned more and challenge veganism and disprove it in ways, right? So that I can reconcile my way of life that I've known and that I believe. And through that process, ironically, ended up becoming vegan because, you know, the more I learned, the more it became clear to me, the more I could see that, you know, vegans, for example, didn't have a different moral framework or logic or rationale or values than me. I just wasn't educated enough on the decisions I was making, and so I wasn't making the most consistent one in alignment with that. That's all it was.
Fair. But I mean, at the end of the day, I will continue to eat both, regardless of whichever side suffers more or not.
Can you do one thing for us? Can you just watch 1 3-minute video and kind of see what it is that you're paying for? And if you know, like, obviously we cannot decide for you what you're going to do going forward, but what we want you to do, so listen, one of the things we want for you is to be informed as bipedal ape, so clearly put it. I think that part of all of it is being informed, and please be aware that animal agriculture, all these industries will not inform you. They'll tell you whatever it is that you need to hear so that you buy their product. Say it again?
I said that's with anything. Just
yeah,
like the
of course.
99% of stuff that's advertised to you, they don't tell you everything in it.
Yeah, but we don't have any financial incentive in this game. We're here to try and tell you what the reality is. We try to get you informed in all of it and try to walk you through the morality aspect of it. And what we're trying to say now is, I think this conversation is over because we're kind of going in circles. But if we, like, I'll just put a link in the description in the chat right now, and it's like a 3-minute video. It's just like, consider it the start of your education. You don't have to trust only the sources that we give you, but go on and educate yourself. Know what it is that you're paying for, because at some point in your life, maybe you will find out, like it has happened to all of us vegans. You will find out what it is that you're paying for. You will cringe at it, and you will say, "Why the hell didn't I do it sooner?"
I mean, go ahead, but I mean, I can't promise you that it's going to change my view on.
Well, you don't, brother. You don't have to promise us that, right? We're not holding you at gunpoint. We're just here having a conversation, human to human, and we're just giving you education. We're not selling you on anything. By the way, we won't sell you on anything until you join the vegan cult, just so you know. But no, in reality, we're just trying to educate. What you do with that, we have no control over, right? All I would like is, at the very least, like everyone else said here, is if you could walk away more educated about what you're doing, what your world entails, and your role, then that's at least something. What you then do with it after is up to you as a man and who you want to be and how you're going to reconcile it. No one can do that for you. That's up to you. The best we can do is just educate and share stuff with you, and then the rest is up to you.
Hey, bipedal ape.
Huh?
Bro, what do you think about the pesticides that we use to grow vegetables? They are bad for us.
I mean, it's not ideal, of course. But just to be clear here before you go down on that, but hold on, brother. I just want to clarify something there, right? Because I'm not sure you know. But I don't like pesticides. They're bad, which is also why I'm vegan. Because I use less pesticides being vegan.
So do you grow your vegetables?
I grow some of my own, but even if I didn't, right? Even if I use the industrial model, which I mostly do, the amount of pesticides that's involved in plant-based products in order to yield them to my door is less than animal products. We have to use much more.
But bro, you have to eat much more as well. For example, if you eat animal product.
Well, not necessarily, but even if we say I have to eat more, brother, right? I don't eat more than a cow does. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Just to let you know, just to, because we talked with Vanished, and he bit some really horrible bullets, so I'm not sure if, yeah. Just to let you know.
Oh, is it a waste of time? Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, it kind of is, yeah.
Any other questions from any other people? Poe, MJ,
Hey,
maybe?
Phallic, as you said, you were an meat eater before, right?
Yeah.
So, like, why would you used to eat meat at that time?
Because
where was your morality back then?
I wasn't educated. I think I already told you that. We educate the more we learn, you know. Some people educate us on these few things, other people educate us on other things. Just wasn't educated, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, just to like have you think for whatever it's worth, you know, everyone seems to think you're a waste of time, but I'm gonna at least give you a little bit benefit of the doubt, right? Just think of it this way. The difference, right, in terms of whether something is moral or not, right, is my awareness of it. So think of it this way. Here's an analogy for you. I'm walking down the street. I don't see the ant that I step on, okay? Versus I'm walking down the street. I see the ant and I still step on him. Which one is morally worse? The outcome is the same, right? The way we'll weigh it is different.
But bro, when he go to see the animal that the butcher kills, right? It's in front of his eyes.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
Okay.
What's
your point,
He has seen the animal being cut, and he still choose to eat it. He still choose to buy it, bro.
Well, I don't know who that is, right? But that's not me. So I don't know what we're talking about right now, right?
I'm talking about Phallic.
I never saw animals that were being killed. I always stayed away from that.
But it is hard to believe that you weren't educated that what animals goes through to just be on your.
I actually wasn't. Like I was born in a farming facility, like where they did farming. All of the killing were outside, really far away. I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
All I know is that pig was there, and then they just gone. Right. That's it.
Yeah.
And then the meat packages came in. That's all I saw.
Yeah. But even Phallic, you know, beyond that, you know, to you, Vanishment, I was raised hunting and fishing since I was young. So I did it with my own hands. I did take life and kill things and whatnot, right? With my own hands when I was younger. And that was immoral. I know that now. But I could rationalize it and disassociate from it because I did not have a deep understanding, right? Like a child in a sense. I didn't have a deeper connection and understanding outside the normalization and disassociation between the actions I was doing, right? I had some sense of it, but I was desensitized to it and disassociated, so I either didn't think about it that much, I wasn't confronted on it that much, right? There weren't vegans around when I was doing it to make me question. And so under those circumstances, right, that I was raised in, I didn't have a reason to evaluate at a deeper level the implications and the suffering I was causing. But as I got older and I got more educated and I reevaluated these actions and started looking at them deeper and realizing, right, the implications of it and not looking away from it or hand waving it or disassociating from it, right? When people questioned me, vegans questioned me, right? And I didn't have a good answer for them like you're kind of having right now. I went to war with them, which is ultimately what made me vegan, right? Because I never had someone confront that normalization before. I had no reason to think about it. It was just a normal way of living. And it wasn't until I was confronted and I didn't have an answer and I stumbled and that hurt my ego. So my initial impulse was to double down and to fight back. And I went to war trying to disprove it or to prove vegans as naive. And the more I did that, the more I deepened my own understanding and realized I was wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how it goes, bro.
Okay. So when I talked to these people earlier, I said to them that I am vegetarian since I was born. And they said that you are fucking rapist, bro. You rape cows.
I think there was a context to it.
Do you believe the same? Do you believe the same that vegetarians are rapists?
Not that you're paying for it. We didn't
Yeah, I
say
wouldn't
that you
call
were
you a
one. We say that
rapist,
you're
but
paying.
I would say you are contributing to rape, 100%. You are contributing to it. You may not have been aware of it, so I wouldn't, just like
No,
the
no, no,
analogy
no.
of, wait, brother, listen for a
I'm aware
second.
of it.
Just like the analogy of walking and stepping on the ant, right? I wouldn't say you're a morally bad person as a vegetarian paying for rape if you didn't understand it deeply, right? But once you do, then it's the same thing as seeing the ant before you step on it. So now the culpability is there. The sense of responsibility is now there.
I see.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say those things. But listen, brother, if I was going to be like that, look at my life. I have to look at myself. I killed plenty of things. You know, I took many things' lives brutally, hunting and fishing, and this was normal for me. And it wasn't until later in life when I was confronted about it and I didn't have a good enough answer that hurt me. It made me double down and be very defensive. And my first impulse was, these vegans must be naive. They're missing something, surely, because I was ego hurt that I didn't have a good enough answer than what they had. So that set me on a path of trying to reconcile that. And the more I did do that, and I did my own labor, not someone else telling me, but because I was confronted, like you're being confronted now, and not having a good answer, well then from there, you have one of two options. You either do nothing with it and just be okay with not having a good answer, or you do your own work and you know, no one's going to convince you. You have to go read and deepen your own understanding and evaluate it, right? That's what I did.
Yeah, but my point is, even if everyone in the world goes vegan, right? The world still won't become a great place. Like we
Well,
still
become a better place.
No.
It still won't be a perfect place, but it'll be a better place.
Let me finish.
Yeah,
We would use 10 times more pesticide that we are using right now, which
brother.
would increase global warming even more, bro.
No.
Wait, if we explain to you how that's wrong, you're going to change your mind.
Guys, let them two have a go.
Yeah, but the question is, if we explain how that's wrong, will you change your mind, Vanishment?
Yeah, explain it to me.
Why would you change your mind if you were wrong?
How would I change my mind? If you can prove
you?
that I'm
Would
wrong.
you? If you're presented with evidence against what you just said, would you change your mind?
Yeah, I
Okay.
would change my mind.
There you go, continue.
Ape, go ahead.
Obviously.
Yeah, so perfect. So I can give you plenty of citations and research that will show that, right? So you don't have to just take my word, but I'll tell you this, okay? We use, I think the number, and particularly on pesticides, I can't remember, but it's something to like a factor of what, 3 or 4? I have to go back and look. But it's a great factor, more than just 2. In the amount of pesticides we use for animal agriculture than plant. And the easiest way you can think about this, okay, if you just think about it, in order to feed the animals by the tons that you're growing, you have to grow the crop to feed the animals, okay? And then you also have to steward the land in which you're housing those animals, right? So you have the pesticides and the phenomenon, I don't know if you know the word runoff, it's called runoff. So you have runoff from the fields that you have to cultivate to feed the animals, and you have the runoff from the fields in which you're governing the animals. Okay? There's much more even involved in that, but that's the simplest way of putting it, right?
But bro,
but
it
also,
doesn't work
I'll
like
just add one other thing to that. Well, sorry, one other thing to that. Just to be clear, all of that I just said is true, but in addition to that, we still have to grow produce. You still eat produce. So we're doing an extra amount of crop growing and pesticides to grow the animals, right? But at the same time, we're still doing pesticides to grow the produce we still eat with those animals. So we're doing all of this extra, it's about 5 or 6 times more resource intensive, like land, water, labor, pesticides, there's other stuff involved there, to cultivate animals than it is to cultivate produce, right? To get your caloric needs met. And I speak from the US perspective, right? I don't know what country you're in, but here in the US, 70% of all of our natural resources, our land, etc., right? That's pesticides included that we utilize in that industry. 70% of it is all used for animal agriculture to feed our population. And if it's 70% of it, and it's by a factor of 10 uses more, you can get the picture of how much more we're using and how much more we're growing in order to sustain that.
Like in the country where I'm from, we don't use pesticide to grow the grass to feed to the cows.
Yeah, I don't know the
Yeah,
country
we just
you're in.
we just
India.
feed them weeds.
Aren't
just
you
feed
from
them
India,
what?
Vanishman? You from India?
Yeah. We just feed them weeds. You know weeds, the unwanted
I'm
plants.
also from India, and I can confirm that's not the case.
Yeah, they can't be the case because the population's too large, brother. You have to use the industrial model.
No, bro. Most of the people doesn't use.
I've been to India, brother. I know
Lady
it's safe
butcher,
there. and I've been to
lady butcher.
Listen,
Why-
let
why
me just
do
tell
you
you
say
something.
that?
As a white guy, wait, hold on. I've been to Kerala. Have you been to Kerala?
No, I have
You know
not been
Kerala?
to Kerala.
Okay, so
But
I've been to
Kerala
Kerala.
has-
Kerala, wait. Let me just finish real quick. Kerala is one of the most agricultural states in India. I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen the farms firsthand. I've been in Kerala. I flew into Kochi. I've been to the mountain estates. I've seen it. What you're saying isn't true, brother.
No. Kerala has only 2% of the population of India, bro.
No, that's not my point.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Kerala plays a large agricultural role to feeding India.
Nah,
Like, you
bro.
can
The agriculture role must be less than 5%.
But Vanish, man, you
I
can
don't
think
know. I
about
don't know the
it.
exact number, brother, but it's big. They're very agricultural.
No,
But
bro.
you can
It's the
think
most
about it.
agricultural states in India.
Let's make a statement. Vanished. If you say that they're wrong, you have to kind of provide some kind of evidence.
Okay. I'll search it on Google.
Cool. That's it. I think as Ape said, like if you believe someone is wrong, then definitely do research. Sorry, Chip. What's up?
No,
Plus,
no,
I
I
am
was just
saying
gonna
it
say
because
that
of
you-
personal experience, bro. I've
No, but
seen
like-
it with my eyes.
But
This
what
Well,
you're
graph,
brother,
saying
I've
was a
seen it with
small
my eyes more
portion.
firsthand than you have because I've been to Kerala.
guys,
Okay,
we don't
okay,
need to. We
let-
don't, hold
let
on,
me
hold on,
talk.
guys. We don't need to use our eyes. Here, agricultural land
You're right,
percent, land of
Yes.
area. 60%
We have
of
data.
agriculture is agricultural land in India. 60%.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So there you go. No eyes
But
needed.
Thakur, you have to understand that what you are thinking in your head is just a small portion, like the Gaushalas. You're talking about that, but that does not mean that every industrial dairy farm also feeds them weeds and grass.
Yeah.
Hey, Lady Butcher, are you vegan, bro?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
am.
You're vegan.
And Vanishman, just so you know, right, the nutrients that you get, right, just so we're clear, most people don't know this. I don't know if you know this, so I'm just going to tell you for whatever it's worth, so you can know if you didn't. But the nutrients you get, right, your protein, the amino acids, all that stuff, right, that you get, that your body needs to thrive from animals, you're getting it secondhand from plants. It comes from
vegans.
Yeah,
Shut
cool.
the fuck up.
It comes from the plants. Can someone mute him, bro?
I'll
It comes from the. Thank you. So listen, Vanishment. It comes from the plants that they eat. So the plants we feed those animals is the nutrients you get from the plant eating it, or from the animal eating it. It all comes from
Yeah.
plants.
I don't eat animals, by the way.
I don't eat
Put some animal products.
way.
Who's yeah, Anonym, please be quiet. I'll have to kick you. Please don't do it.
Yeah. Well,
Uh-huh.
Vanishment, if you don't eat animals, you're almost there, brother. You're almost there.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they are
Spanish.
saying that I am a rapist for not eating animals. Even if I drink
I'm not
milk,
saying
they
you're a
say
rapist,
I'm-
but I am saying if you know that rape is happening to produce it, right now that you know, then you are contributing to that atrocity. You understand?
No, bro,
You're
I
morally
doesn't
culpable.
consider
Can
that
you-
rape, bro. I doesn't
Bro,
consider that rape.
Have you watched the documentary Maa Ka Doodh or not? Just tell me.
No. I have seen a cow being inseminated with my own eyes.
Bro, you
I
can't,
didn't need
you
to
can't
watch.
be any more
I didn't
wrong
need to
about
watch
it.
any documentary for that, bro.
No, you should because there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Share me
so-
the link. Share me
There
the
you
link.
go. There
I
you
will
go. I'm
watch.
sharing it. I have it open.
So wait, I heard one interesting thing that I've been actually wanting to say for a while now. So you said you don't consider it rape yourself, right? That's what you said.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah. So
consider
did
it rape.
so wait. Let me see it. Let me ask you. I'll ask you one hypothetical question. During chattel slavery, they didn't consider it as rape when they forcefully inseminated some slaves so that they could make more humans. Does that mean that what they were doing was rape or not?
Yeah, they were doing rape because they were inseminating a man.
So it doesn't really matter whether you consider it rape or not, right? That's what I'm trying to say,
Yeah,
right? It doesn't really matter. What matters is what the victim does and what the victim how the victim sees it. And then if you think from the perspective of a sentient being, do you think that them being forcefully inseminated is not rape?
Let's say that cow feel bad for that day, right? But the cow will feel good for the rest of other days till the.
That's something you could say literally about any other rape action. Well, they're only gonna feel bad this time, but they're gonna feel good for the rest of their life. Like, come on, man, are you really biting this? I now I remember you were biting the weirdest bullets last time.
Yeah, yes, you see, we have to treat humans and animal differently, right?
No, we don't have to treat humans and animals differently, and definitely you don't have to treat them differently when it regards to leaving their private parts alone, given that you don't need to be touching any of them.
As I said earlier, Chip Guy, it's a trade. I'll give you food, you give me milk. It's a trade.
Oh, if I give you food, can I rape you anally, please?
Yeah. Nobody consented to that.
Bro, if I'm an animal,
no cow
you
consented to that.
Bro, how does a cow consent? They kick, right? If they feel
Okay,
bad,
so they cannot.
kick.
No, that's not how a cow consents.
when a
You
farmer-
cannot get consent from a cow, can you?
Yeah, we can, bro. Like if you go to breast, how do you say, breast feed? No, not breastfeed, bro. When you take the milk from the cow, how would you say the word? What's the word for it?
Milking the cow is what he
Milking the cow. Yeah. When you milk the cow, and she kicks you, it means she doesn't allow you to milk her, right? So it's a consent.
Vanish, can I just say something? If I found
you
that
can.
disabled homeless person, right, and
Yeah.
they start milking the tits and they were not doing anything, do you think that's okay?
No, bro, you're a monster for doing that.
Why? They didn't show me
because
that anything's wrong.
The law doesn't allow it, bro.
Wait.
In some countries, it's okay.
So, are you saying? Oh, hold on, Vanish. Are you saying if the law was okay with it, there would be nothing wrong with like juicing disabled people's tits?
No, I'm not saying that because they are human, not animals.
Yeah, but they can't consent, can they? So they would kick you if they didn't like it, right?
Bro, as I said, they are humans, bro. We cannot do bad stuff to humans.
Okay.
But just because they're not humans doesn't mean they don't have negative experience that we can observe, right?
Exactly.
But we are
And just because,
providing
and
them good
can I just
experiences
say
as well,
something here,
bro.
brother? Let me just meet you in the middle here for whatever it's worth, right? Because I still have faith in you. Even if we want to say, which I think is fair, to say, many vegans wouldn't agree, but I view it this way. But even if I meet you and say humans are more valuable than the cow, for example, or the chicken, right? That's not the same thing as saying the chicken or the cow has zero value, right? A rock is what I would say has zero value for me to hit it with a hammer, but not a chicken. So it still has some value. It still has some consideration, even if it's less than the consideration I would give you, right? If a train was coming and you were on one side of the track and a chicken was on the other side of the track, I would pull the lever and hit the chicken and not you. But that's not the same thing as saying if an apple tree, for example, is on the right hand of the track and a chicken is on the left hand of the track, that I wouldn't, in that same logic, pull the lever to hit the apple tree versus the chicken, right? You get my point?
Yeah.
They still have value, even if it's less. It's still valuable, and that's worth consideration.
So,
because
so
value.
by inseminating them, we are bringing out the value within them.
No, but listen, you're causing suffering, but they are value. They have value. But listen, listen, right? Here, it goes back to the same analogy. If they have value, which we just agreed that they do, causing them suffering, right? If we don't have to get the same nutrition and experience, right? Then again, why would we do that? That it would be morally wrong because we don't have to. And so why would we do that? Because they have value. You can still value yourself and get all your needs met without having to cause them pain or suffering. That's the point.
So let's say if I use a bull to inseminate cow, will it okay for me to drink her milk or not?
I would say no, because you wouldn't have to do it, right? You can drink other types of milk that's not a cow milk, so you have that option. So it's better, but it's not better than not doing it at all.
And you just also named exactly the issue with it. If you use a bull to inseminate a cow, who are you to use one sentient being to get what you want out of another sentient being? Just because you have power over both of them, does that give you the moral right to do whatever you want to them so that you get some benefit from it?
Yeah. Because I'm feeding them.
So if you give, like, by your logic, Vanishment, by your logic, as long as you are feeding somebody, you have the right to do whatever you want to them. And by that, I mean, like, if I keep you in my basement, then I have the right to sexually exploit you?
Wait a second, my roommate is calling me.
You don't want to buy the bullets next to your roommate.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions, by the way?
What? Question about what?
Do you think people should be vegan?
Oh, no. Doesn't need to.
Why?
Because you don't have to.
So let me ask you this, world creator
Because you
slave.
don't have to.
Okay, let me ask you, do you respect animals?
Of course we respect animals. Okay, do you respect planets?
So do you think that you can respect animals while simultaneously paying for them to be exploited and slaughtered for something that you don't need?
Okay, nice. You respect the planets?
Do I respect planets?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, planets, which is
Planets. Did you respect the Earth, I think?
Yes, everything around you. For example, let's talk about trees. So.
Listen, we can go down we've already been down the route of plants, and we can go down that route again because I see you're new here. But let's just first discuss this idea, okay? And we'll go. I'll promise you, the next thing we go down is plants. So, can you respect animals while simultaneously paying for them to be exploited and slaughtered for something that you don't need?
Well, it doesn't need to be respectful from this point, you know. Being respected from this point, actually. Because from all days, since we know this, that we existing in this earth, that's our resources for food, for especially the meat, is coming from special animals. Not all the animals, special animals. And there is studies showing the differences between each kind of
creator. Can I just say something? Chip, I had a specific question for you.
Yeah.
I said there is no need to be a specific like to have a respect for something like that for specific animals. That's my answer. And
so what you're saying is we don't need to respect the animals that we're farming. Is that what you're saying?
It's not about respecting. It's about you need to eat. And this is.
But I'm asking you, listen.
Resource. That's a studies, you know.
Listen. No, you don't need to consume animal products. You don't. Like if you believe that you do, it's just your own belief, and you're going against established science that we don't, and not established science by this year or whatever, but for years and years. You're going against millions of anecdotal evidence, like millions of individuals that are already vegan, that are thriving on this plant-based diet. But whatever it is, my question to you was, should we respect animals? You said yes. And now you said that these animals, the farm animals, we should not respect. Is that true? Should we not respect farm animals?
Because you are just generalizing the respective. You know, you're just saying.
Should we respect farm animals or not?
Wait. What does it mean?
Wait. Answer the question.
Yeah. First of all, what is respect? You're talking about respect.
Wait, I'll make an example. Do I respect my child?
I understand his
Wait, World Creator, I'll just make it super easy with you, right? A quick example. Do I respect my child by beating him when he gets an F grade in school?
Yes, that's a respect. You know why?
Wow. Yeah, because you're teaching him a lesson, bro. You're teaching him a lesson. Not to get bad grades.
That's true. That's true. Because you guys living in a different world. That's your problem. You know, if you are trying to
Oh, we have a problem.
raise your voice against a kid,
Jesus
if
Christ.
you're trying to teach your kid something like against that, that's a different culture. But I don't care.
No, that's not
You
the
don't-
cultural thing, dude. You
It's a
abusing
culture.
children, dude.
Yes,
You
yes.
abusing
If you
children
go to
because they did not
Africa,
understand
if
the
you go to-
subject is not a different
if you go to-
culture.
If you go to Africa, if you go to South Asia, if you go to North, whatever it is, in Russia, they're beating their kids to teach them.
Yeah,
that's something normal. That's something
not
normal.
nothing
You don't come here to judge me by your what you believe in.
Hey,
you know?
so-
that's your problem. You know. I don't
World
care.
creators, do you know what is versus ought problem? Do you know what is ought problem?
You know what is the West problems?
No, I'm
Okay,
asking
I
you a
think it's
question
gonna be-
because I want to explain to you something. I'm asking
there is
though.
no. What is the problem?
If you don't want
Tell
to
me what
listen,
kind
that's
of
fine. We
problems.
can look, World Creator. If you don't want to listen, that's fine. We can move on to someone else, right? All we're
No,
saying
no.
is we shouldn't beat children if they don't understand something. That's all.
Yeah,
Right.
please don't. Please
What?
don't.
What do you say?
Were you listening to me, by the way?
You said what again?
No, I'm saying we're gonna talk to someone else. Someone who doesn't want to beat children.
as you like. I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bro,
and
we-
just to
we
just
think-
to add it a little bit. No, what he's making an argument that it happens in certain. Let-
Word, you know, just being.
No.
respectful.
No.
Okay,
So-
wait. Let me ask you
No,
a
let me
question. Easy question. Let me ask you easy question. When you go to kiss the hands of the dog, is it kind of respect?
If you kiss the hands of a dog, as long as you respect their body
Wait.
autonomy and their I don't know, their
Wait. You are telling me that you want to kiss hands of dogs, a kind
Wait,
of.
No, I'm not. I don't want to do that, and I never said that. But like, so let me do something.
Wait, World Creator, you had a question. They're trying to answer your question, but you keep jumping in. Let him answer the
Yeah.
question. And if
Yeah,
you're
it's
gonna
a big word. He's
okay,
Yeah, he just
World
keeps talking.
Creator, look, if you're gonna, it's not big words. If you don't understand, just simply ask. Hey, can you explain this? Can you explain that? It's very simple.
Yeah.
We're on the English server. Just real quick, if you're gonna ask a question, just wait for them to answer. If they don't answer it the way you wanted to, you can ask. Okay, can we go into more specifics? Okay.
I can explain
Okay,
what
go ahead.
respect is, by the way. So respect means giving them regards for their own moral rights in this context. So do you think we should regard the right to body autonomy of an animal?
yes, it's okay.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that the body of an animal belongs to them, or does it belong to you as long as you feed them?
That belongs to us in specific, and it has things that you have getting benefit from, and this is something that you have studies, and you have a lot of things to do.
So
I
wait,
asked
so
you
let
an
me
easy question. I asked. Okay.
so let me see if I understand it correctly. You think that the body of an animal belongs to you more than it belongs to them as long as you
Yes.
feed them?
Yes.
Do you think the same? So what? Okay. Would you say the same if it were a human animal?
Of course no. Human animal.
How about a cat? Is
Wait,
the
wait.
cat's body
Wait.
for you if you feed them?
Yeah, I eat any cat anytime.
Yeah. So do you fuck
Please,
cats?
Like, please.
If you have a good pussy, yeah.
Please,
All right,
let's
I'm
talk
just
about
gonna
it.
start muting people. Holy shit.
You saying human animal? What do you mean by human animal, Mr.
Humans are animals.
The chat guy.
So human animal is a human because humans are animals. But the reason why I phrase it as human animal is because a lot of the times we make this distinction between human and animals that isn't actually there because humans are animals.
Are you sure that the humans are animals? Based
We
on
are
the
mammals,
study?
are we not?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
animals.
so can you talk
Mammals
with an animal? Can you talk to animals? And an animals can to talk to an animals? Can you
Animals
interaction
talk to animals?
with animals? Can an animal?
Yeah, so animals can animals. I'll respond to all of your questions. First of all, we are mammals. All humans are mammals, and all mammals are animals. Therefore, by a simple logical deduction, all humans are animals. Number one. Can I talk to animals I can have some form of non-verbal communication with some animals, but I cannot I do not know how much of it they actually understand it. However, I do know that animals talk within each other, but I also cannot talk to all human beings, can I? There are human beings on this planet who I cannot have a conversation with, either because it's a language barrier or because it's maybe a communication barrier.
Actually, you can talk with a lot of humans
Not with everybody, can you?
But
No,
if you talk with
it's
animals,
just a matter of learning their language, bro. It's just a matter
No.
of learning their language. If you learn their
There's
language,
individuals.
you can.
There's individuals who might be in a coma. Individuals who are in a coma. A human being who has suffered an accident and is in a coma. I cannot
First of
talk
all-
to them no matter how much I want to try.
So
Okay,
why would
first
you
of all,
talk?
we agree.
Why do you want to talk with a person who's in coma, bro?
Why would I want to talk to an animal? It's the same question. You ask me if I can talk
No,
to
no,
them or not. My question
This
is
is
what
whataboutism. We're talking about whether or not
autonomy.
we're talking about whether or not we can talk to animals and to other humans. We're not talking about, oh, why would you want to? He wants to, all right? But he can't.
No.
Does it make it okay then to take people in a coma and farm them for food? No? Then the same goes for animals.
Okay, if you are based your
you think
knowledge,
that
wait, brother, if you are based your knowledge and studies that we say that we are animals, because these showing from studies, okay, also your studies telling you that you are, when you're eating a cow, you're getting benefits, you're getting protein and stuff. If you eat a human being, you will get that very diseases and stuff like that and so on.
No, you
so
benefit.
Why are you taking a specific studies and you deny specific studies?
No. So first of all, what I said that humans are animals is not based on a study. It's
It is
literally
based on
the
a study.
No, it's the
No,
definition. It's a definitive statement. Okay, it's a statement of that the way we define mammals. You know what a mammal is?
Yes, it's who categories these things? Who categories them? Who
We
made
as
them
humans created
regulate?
these categories. So we
That's
as
a study.
humans
Yeah,
have
it's a study.
categorized it's not a study. We categorized ourselves as
Can I ask
animals.
you a question? Can I ask you a question? If you go to in the past, like 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and you ask
Yeah.
someone, "Are you an animal?" Would you say, "Yes, I'm an animal," or he gonna punch you? And
Hey, if you go 100 years ago and ask somebody if a world is round or flat, what do you think they're gonna say? I think they're gonna say that the world is flat. Does that mean our world is flat?
We are talking in our human being. Like we're not going outside like the skies and the space and stuff.
Well,
Now
no,
we're
this
talking about
this
human
just
stuff,
shows
you know?
that asking random people
No,
200,
the
300
idea-
years ago is not the way we get to the truth.
No, I respect you, but the point is, the idea comes after what? It comes after the people showing studies and the biology saying, so, okay, human being, we're gonna put them in the categories of animals, which is the mammal. However, that's not showing before that study. You know, it doesn't show this idea wasn't exist until this person, the scientist, comes and he says, okay, let's put human being in the categories of animal. You know,
But that's
the point.
not how it works.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So why you are taking a specific studies and you are denying specific?
First of all, no, that's not how it works. Listen,
It is,
first
it
of all,
is.
that's not how it
Actually,
works.
you
I
know
hate to
that.
be the dick in
This is
this.
what
No, it's
this is
not.
what actually
Let me finish, please. Let me finish. First of all, that's not how it works. There's nothing to study whether humans are animals or not. We are mammals. We are categorized. We belong to the category mammals.
Okay,
All
I respect-
mammals are humans. Therefore, all humans belong to the category Animalia, animals.
Okay.
That is simple. It's simple logic. It's categorization and logic. There is no study. There is no something to inspect or investigate. Number one. Number two, I don't pick and choose studies. What you're saying is that animal products you can benefit from animal products by consuming them. You get benefit like protein and such. Well, did you know that you can benefit from consuming plant-based products in the same amount, right? You can get the same benefit. You can get nutrition and you can get everything that your body needs to thrive on a plant-based diet. How do you morally justify taking the life of an innocent sentient being when you don't need to?
Okay, first of all, Not all the planets
Didn't
is
listen.
existing. All the planets,
as a
all the
moderator-
planets. Wait.
Wait. As a moderator, I actually need to kind of moderate this real quick because I want to have valid conversations. Both creator, what did the chip guy say?
Okay, I understand everything.
What did
He
they
said
say?
that
What did
you
they say?
can't take the same resources like benefits of the that you're getting from the animal. You can't get it from the plants. Okay, I agree.
But there was
Okay,
something
but
after that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
something
But I
after
told him, not all the plants is existing in the same place. For example, if you go to the deserts, will you find the plants? Well,
Wait,
of course, you will not
wait,
find the plants.
no.
Wait, let me finish.
I'm not gonna let you finish because this is gonna be a huge derail. This is going outside of the conversation, right? I'm gonna quickly just address one point. If we don't have to harm animals, shouldn't we defend harming animals? Should we still harm animals if we don't need to do it?
Okay, do you know that when you are
Can you answer the
an
question?
apple, can you? Yeah. Okay,
If you don't answer the question, because I want this conversation to go nicely, if you're not gonna answer these kind of questions, then it's gonna be a bad faith conversation. Therefore, I have no issues with kicking you out of this channel for 24 hours. Could we address the?
Okay, I understand the
Could
point.
you address
but
my question?
You
then?
know that the apples, when you take it from the tree,
Okay, I'm sorry, but I'll have to kick you now. Okay, that's gonna be a.
Just wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, by the way, is he still here or did he leave? Oh, damn. I think we lost him.
Yeah, that's all right. He'll come back. He likes this place.
Okay.
No worries.
Oh, Caracos, you are there. Caracos, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, brother, but you wanna go ahead and chime in? You're muted.
Yes, sorry, I was currently muted during the time.
No worries.
So to a lot of your guys' talking points, first off, obviously, human beings are classified as mammals, which makes us animals, as every other animal in existence. I totally do agree with that. Now, I do have a couple questions as far as, I do see the morals coming from you guys, where you guys see as an animal life almost just as important as a human's life, which is fair to say because they're, they should have the same rights as all of us, right? Technically. But, sorry. I do believe with the processes of how we can consume now today, it's all a commodity, right? You go to the grocery store and you get your food already done, right? Animals already been slaughtered, right? And it's a cycle of that, right? So most people don't have the privilege or know too much about veganism or how to be a vegan exactly. And I believe that it's also harder to, for instance, if I go to I live in the United States, but if I go to the grocery store and I try to eat vegan or vegan, it's actually pretty expensive to just eat healthier.
Well, if it's processed, yeah, I'm in the U.S. as well. I mean, if it's processed, but my grocery bill is less when I just eat whole food vegan. I mean, beans and lentils, brother, they're cheaper than beef.
Cheaper than beef, absolutely.
What would convince you that overall you can have a healthy diet that is also within your budget, that is perhaps cheaper? Because we have studies, but if I show you the studies and those don't convince you, then what would? Because anecdotal evidence, our evidence won't convince you, but do studies convince you that it can be cheaper to be vegan?
Absolutely. If it was
perfect.
Like studied to be shown that it would be cheaper to be able to consume, obviously. And if the benefits were also just as valued, of course.
Perfect. Well, that's perfect, brother, because we can definitely do that.
Yeah, I actually have all the studies right here. I'll give them in a second.
Yeah, I'm here to grab it. Go on, Chip, go on.
I have 3 studies that are both, they're all done in Western Europe. I'll put them here.
So here's a
Here
fun
you go.
question. If we kind of guide you around the studies and demonstrate to them how they work, would you go vegan, like as of today?
So I've tried to be a vegan mostly because my brother was, right? And I stopped eating meat for about 1.5 years. The issue for me was, again, the fact that I couldn't afford what he was doing to keep up with him. And then there was times where again, I think mostly because of the fact that it's kind of like commercialized and it's shown everywhere. I'm saying, like, you don't really get commercials for vegan things, I would say, so much, at least that I've seen. Right? It's usually you're getting pushed an agenda of eating meat, which is a lot harder to escape.
Do you remember my question?
Sorry?
Do you remember my question, which I asked you?
No, I did not. I'm sorry. Go ahead and repeat yourself.
If we demonstrate to you around the studies how everything works, and we can even show you how you can be vegan, like today, would you go vegan today?
Oh, absolutely. If you can show me the process, absolutely.
Cool. I'll let other vegans talk.
Okay, well, I'm gonna drop right here in the chat. There's a website called Challenge 22. What they do is they help you stay within your budget, get exactly the nutrition that you need. They send you recipes every day for 22 days. It's called 22 days because it takes 22 days on average for a person to change a habit. They send you recipes for more than 22 days, by the way. But the challenge is that you follow it for 22 days. And if it works for you, then why not continue, right? They hook you up with a nutritionist, send you recipes every day. And it's all free, by the way. So here's I pasted the link in the chat. I'll also put it in my channel. And
Chip?
Can I just say,
and also, brother, I'm in the U.S. and I'm vegan too. I just sent you a friend request. I can send you some bomb recipes too that you'll like from American Palate too.
Okay, I'll just ask a real quick question. Chip, if someone was to go vegan today, what are the most important things they should know?
So if you were to go vegan today, I think if I were to give the biggest advice that I would give somebody is make sure that you're eating enough. One of the biggest things that you see vegan influencers or vegan, plant-based influencers who go on a plant-based diet. They say, I feel so much healthier. They do these detox smoothies and bullshit thing that is completely unscientific. And then they go around saying that they feel healthier than a fruitarian diet or whatever the diet of their choice. And they end up not consuming enough calories. And when they end up consuming not enough calories, they start having health issues because, you start having health issues. Hence why the whole myth of vegans degrading is real, is because a lot of people, when they go vegan, they don't eat enough. So that's number one advice, is make sure you eat enough. And number two, maybe take a multivitamin. It's pretty simple until you get a grasp on which vitamins you need to supplement, which vitamins you don't need to supplement. Then that's the easiest. If you do these two, if you eat enough and take a multivitamin, you will 100% should be healthy.
Yeah, and it gets easier with time. You get more familiar with your body and what nutrition you need.
What do you need?
And like now, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, typically, which vitamins do you think you'll be like deficient in if you go vegan?
I don't think you will necessarily be deficient in any vitamins.
You won't be like I was just about to say, I don't take any vitamins. The only thing I supplement is B12, but whether you're vegan or not, you should still supplement B12. The only reason that they're saying you should start if you're transitioning to do multivitamin, right, is because, again, you're going into something that's, different from what you were used to, right? So in doing that, it makes sense to kind of supplement as you're learning.
I mean, I'm already taking vitamins anyway, but I'm just thinking about like iron maybe as well.
Yeah, I take a multi-supplement because I just I couldn't be fucked to plan my diet, and I don't want to find myself in any deficiencies. So for me, it's like I eat food, I get most of my nutrition from food, but I also take a multi-supplement just to make sure, just that I don't fall out of one of the nutrients, right? Because generally speaking, I eat very small amount of type of foods. It's just like a preference. If I ate more like variety, I would probably not need like a multivitamin, but there's nothing wrong with taking a multivitamin. It's good practice in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, you can never go wrong with that. Yeah. But I started off that way, but I don't do it now. I'm just fully whole food. The only thing I supplement is B12. But again, most people have a misconception of B12. B12 is deficiency is an issue, vegan or non-vegan, which comes from the industrial era.
Yeah, I had a B12 deficiency when I wasn't vegan, and I had to take B12 shots as a non-vegan. So
a lot of people do.
Yeah, it's not a vegan or non-vegan thing, as you say. It's just a food system that we have right now thing.
Exactly.
See, at the moment, I would say that I'm like vegetarian, but like I'm trying to go vegan, but it's I still have a lot of like animal products in my house and stuff that I need to like use up.
Right. I mean, I could see where you're coming from. I mean, personally, I'd be more radical and say ceremoniously throw them bitches out and let's go buy you some plant-based shit and kick this thing off.
Yeah.
Why are
I
we
don't know,
waiting,
like,
brother? Join the
literally
club.
just like things like butter in the fridge and cheese and stuff, just things like that.
So by the way,
Yeah.
what I did when I went vegan, I didn't throw away all the animal products that I had. What I did instead is I found it as an opportunity to find the plant-based products that most resemble the animal products that I enjoy. That really helped me transition much faster. So I just didn't buy
yeah.
anymore. So don't buy new
Yeah,
products.
that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm being very careful when I'm going grocery shopping now and like for vitamins or anything to just choosing all the vegan options. But it's like I have things like, you know, omega-3 fish oils and just things like that, you know, like they're like legacy products, I guess, in the cupboards, you know?
Yeah, I don't think so. So there's nothing morally wrong if you have some products, as long as you're not contributing to any extra exploitation. I mean, but that's just it. At the end of the day, if you're not buying any more animal products, then you are vegan, even if you, I don't know, if you have some leftovers or whatever bullshit.
Yeah, sure. I believe in you, brother. You're joining us,
Yeah,
Cloud. I
it's-
got you.
No, because like for me, it's a moral thing, definitely.
Hell
It's
yeah.
not like the argument of the health reasons. You can argue health either way. Is like that's a bullshit argument. I think it's the moral argument is the correct argument.
Well, I agree, but the thing I love most about veganism is, and any axiom that you want to argue, veganism is superior, you know. But yeah, definitely the strongest and most compelling, and obviously most relevant in the future world we want to see, in the world that currently exists now we want to improve, is the moral argument for sure.
Yeah.
If you give me like 15 minutes, I'm gonna start cooking Beyond Meats with tofu on the stove. So it's gonna be fun.
Based.
Let's go.
Also, like everyone else in my life is not vegan as well, so it just makes, which I'm kind of like spreading the word a little bit with those guys, but I
There
don't
you
want to
go.
sound too like preachy all the time.
No, I mean that makes it. You don't have to be preachy at all. You know why, brother? The best part about that is, vegan food's edible to everybody.
No,
wanna say
absolutely.
something.
I've been like cooking vegan. Like I went on the Challenge 22, and I've actually made a couple of like vegan meals and stuff for everybody. So,
Nice.
which
Yeah.
everyone did enjoy. So you know.
I also want to tell you something. As an activist myself, the hardest people to convince are gonna be your relatives.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The hardest, bro.
I'd
If
say
you can
it's
do it,
nearly
though-
fucking impossible.
If you can do it, that'll be like huge accomplishment for you. But like what we and many other activists started doing, it's doing activism to people who we don't really know, because those people are like a stranger to a stranger. You're both, you know.
No, I get it. It's like, do you know the other thing is like, I'm like saying to them, oh, you know, it's think when we're like going like grocery shopping or something, I'm like, oh look, this is the dead animal section. Look, all the dead animals, and I get like in return like, hold on a minute, like 5 minutes ago you were eating meat, and now all of a sudden you're like this fucking, you know, high priest of veganism telling me this is all bullshit. You know.
Yeah, we all have stories like that.
Oh, aren't we like strangers on a train when it comes to veganism? Like, I'll make your mom vegan, you make my sister vegan kind of situation. Instead of killing, it's the vegan version where everybody gets to live. Literally, everybody. Yeah, joking.
Does anyone else have any questions about veganism? What do you want now?
Well, I would say that is it kind of a little bit hypocritical? I've got 2 cats here that eat meat every single day, obviously.
Ooh. I can address that actually. So first of all, at first, like, you know, first change your habits, and then we can talk about companion animals. But I don't have all of them here, but we have some evidence for cats consuming a vegan, well-formulated diet. Don't feed your cats potatoes and nothing else, right? Buy the actual vegan food. They're doing fine. They're doing just great. So what cats need, they're obligate carnivores, right? But they don't need meat. They need the nutrients. So if you put enough nutrients in there, like put enough taurine and shit like that, and enough like oxidizing, I think, agents or whatever, they're okay. They're doing okay.
But it's definitely difficult, from personal experience, it's very difficult to feed a cat a vegan diet, especially if you have a family members in the household that feed them meat as well.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is just feed them like the vegan formulated cat food as much as you can.
Okay. I mean, the thing is, at the moment, I've got one older cat who's quite not in the best of health anyway, and it's very picky with food, and it's kind of, I don't want to go down that route at the moment of trying to feed them different diets and stuff.
Yeah. With cats, you slowly have to implement stuff. You cannot make them like completely start something else, because they will actually like go on a hunger strike and stuff.
Yeah.
So like if you can, like when they have dry food, just mix some like vegan cat food into it as well. I don't know, make it like 50-50, and see how they feel like.
And the reason why you should do that, even if it sounds kind of cumbersome to you, is because you have just as much moral responsibilities for what your cats eat as you do for what you eat, you know? So if you understand the moral argument for what you eat, if you make decisions for your cats, then you still have a moral responsibilities for the decisions that you're making for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you heard about the Pottinger cats?
Yeah, cats are super difficult. Dogs are super easy. So.
Wait, MJ asks about Schrodinger's cat.
No. Pottinger, not Schrodinger.
Pottinger.
Yeah,
MJ,
he did the
you're quiet.
experiment with feeding them. He was feeding them cooked and uncooked meals. It was
hand-cooked meals.
Yeah, Pottinger experiment.
Okay.
Not Schrodinger.
Yeah. But we're not advocating for that, FYI, right? I don't think if you ever want your animals to be plant-based, let me just finish for a second. Please do not feed them the meals that you cook yourself, but rather consider a formulated meal, because they do need certain nutrients that you may not be able to provide by your cooking.
Yeah, for real. And also like the vegan cat foods.
I would never just swap out a cat's diet with
the vegan cat foods like still need.
Do that anyway.
Sorry, the vegan cat foods still need a bit of evaluation, because like somebody I know who's like very understand about nutrition, they went through all the vegan brands and only one of them was like really, really well supplemented. So it will take time until cats can be like fully plant-based and not suffer the consequences. You know.
I think what's really important is supporting their brands and showing them that there is a demand.
Yeah, there are brands out there that are doing a really, really good job. So it's possible. It's, by the way, also like more expensive. So, you know, you take care of yourself and then think about veganizing your animals after that.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it would be an unreasonable position for us vegans to say, well, you had cats before you went vegan. Now take your cats and, like, kill them or something so that they are not responsible for more animals being killed or something like that. That would be unreasonable.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't make any sense anyway. You still hurt an animal, so...
Yeah. No, I mean, like, you know, like for...
well...
It's
I would kind of expand that and say you're killing your family member.
Yeah. Yeah, like you don't kill your grandma because she's refusing to go vegan, please.
Okay, Joe, do you want to talk to us? Because I see you mentioned in the chat that killing a plant is ending a life.
Ooh.
Oh no! Come on.
Wait! They made a statement: killing a plant results in them feeling
Joe, you know the funny thing about that is if you value the plant's life so much, right? So that seems to mean that you value life and experience. So by that same token and your own logic, then you should eat plants because there's going to be less plant death, right? By just eating plants than eating animals. So there's less animal death and less plant death for these plants that you value and sentience that you value by being vegan. So welcome to being vegan, brother.
So Joe, if you look, let me know when that happens. If you look Are you listening to us, by the way, Joe, or are you just typing? You can just type in the chat, but tell me that you are listening to us. I don't want to just babble if you're not listening. Yes, you're listening. So
yeah.
I'm sharing a screen where I explain why plants are not sentient, right? So plants are alive, that's for sure. The bacteria in your gut are alive, but it's not a moral problem to kill the bacteria in your gut, which you do every single day. Or plants, it's not a moral question because they are not sentient. There is nobody there to experience that killing or that death, making it morally whatever, frankly. It's like me grabbing my phone and like thrashing it into the floor. The phone doesn't care. There is nobody in there to care. So it's the same for cutting a carrot. A carrot doesn't care because they're not sentient. Why are they not sentient? They don't have a brain or a nervous system, right? They don't have all these senses that us animals and human animals have. Therefore, plants are not conscious, and all the animals, including humans, are. Well, not all animals.
Well,
some animals are not sentient, but that's neither here or there. Yeah.
They just made a claim that they are a bacteria rights activist.
Oh, okay. Well, then we're gonna leave you to it. Then you still should go vegan because you kill less bacteria as a vegan. You kill everything less as a vegan.
Look, most vegans, we value sentience, right? I agree plants are alive, and if I can avoid killing a plant because it still has value, that's good. But obviously, it's not sentient. It doesn't have a nervous system or a central processing center, right? The things that we value in sentience and the sentient experience as opposed to just reaction to stimuli, right? But even then, if you're so dead set on just valuing life totally without sentience in it, then you still should be vegan. You're gonna kill less plants. Welcome to being
bacteria.
vegan, bro.
Yeah. Imagine the amount of bacteria that are in the gut of a cow. Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah. That's a massacre right there. Just by killing one cow, you're just massacring a huge amount of plants and a huge amount of bacteria.
So for everybody, so for everybody watching, by the way, just Joe said research has shown that plants can respond to damage with stress signals, even though they don't have nerves. So I think, Joe, VPM has already responded to what you were saying by explaining to you that, yes, they do respond to certain external stimuli, but that doesn't mean that they have sentience. That doesn't mean that they are conscious of what they are doing. That doesn't mean that they know that they are alive. Do you understand that?
So what this paper also presents is the debunk of the arguments. So plants do not show proactive behavior, meaning they're not showing that they have some kind of a will of anything, meaning there is nobody there, literally. There is no motivation behind it because there's nobody there to be motivated.
And since Joe's harping on that so much again, right? There is forms of communication, you could argue, sure. But again, if you're dead set on that and you're ignoring the whole sentience point, again, and you're just, life for the sake of life, even with that same, dying on that hill, brother, you're vegan all the same if you're consistent with this value you seem to be very passionate about. So welcome to being a vegan.
Yeah,
because you're gonna kill less.
Trolling, right? Come on.
I also want to say, if you believe plants are sentient, therefore, my phone is sentient.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it reacts to stimuli. Yeah.
Food time. Let's see.
Yeah, I think we should pick somebody who wants to speak, though, because I think it's easier. I don't know. I thought Joe maybe wanted to speak.
What do you think about it being a step-by-step process? First of all, getting someone to eat less meat, then stop eating meat and be a vegetarian diet, and then try to move over from vegetarianism to veganism.
Farm reduction method.
I think
I think we would all just champion just be vegan, bro. It's gonna be hard. Maybe you'll have some backsliding, but the point is, dive in and just go for it. Why baby step yourself?
Yeah, and not just that, it's the same moral principle. If you can apply the same moral principle by saying, well, do I have to take it as a step-by-step? No, then why would I take it as a step-by-step? Because when you're taking it as a step-by-step, you're still exploiting innocent sentient beings.
No, I understand that. I just mean in terms of like, there's less chance that someone's going to just bail on the whole concept and then be like, just carry on being a carnivore.
Well, that's why the moral element is so important, right? Because if you're just doing it as a fad, you know, just testing the waters, then you're not really a vegan, right? You're not in it for the reason.
No,
that
I know. I just feel like the concepts of people like physically eating the meat, I think they can get that and they can understand that more. This is the animal. You're literally eating the animal. But when you're eating, like, choosing products which have like small amounts of like animal products in them, like dairy or something, it's like that doesn't really hit you over the head that I'm killing animals and eating animals. I know you're contributing, but it's not.
But if you know that you are, then it's hitting you on the head, brother. You know now. Many people don't, but you do now, right?
Yeah, that's me, but I'm not talking about me as such. I'm talking about like people around me, which I'm trying to like bring into the whole circle.
I mean, the best way then you can do that, right, is just when they fall asleep, just, you know, start incepting them, like slowly chanting about like moral arguments into their ear while they sleep. Into their brainwave. You'll get there.
I mean, I do drop in just remarks when we're shopping and stuff. Like I said, like, oh look, this is the dead animal section. Oh great, how many cows did we kill just for that? You know.
I get you, brother. I would just say this, you know, for what it's worth, Cloud, right? I think your mind's in the right place, but I would just say it would be best served for you, right? Is if you want to save other people, you got to put your own air mask on first, right? So the first thing you can do is start with yourself, right? Before you start getting into all this energy and thinking about how you can convert other people, the most important person first is got to be you, right? Which you're not there yet. So let's jump in. Let's put that air mask on, and then we can start, you know, talking about influencing other people a little bit more. But influence yourself first, which is the one you have the most control over. Because if you can't do that, if you can't convince yourself, I don't see the point of you sitting here thinking about how you're going to convince other people.
No, I feel like I am there. It's just there. It's just I'm just there. I'm in the like implementation stage, right? I'm there and I'm trying to work out how this is going to work for me and what I'm going to eat and stuff. Right? That's where I am.
I got you, brother. Well, let's jump in. I'll send you some recipes. There's some websites. We got this. Let's go shopping. You can video chat me.
I'm gonna jump out because I have to get back to work, everybody. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, see you.
See you, brother.
Okay, cool.
I want to show you guys something really cool, right? This.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Nooch.
What is that?
Nooch.
Oh, Nooch. That's Nooch. Yeah, you gotta love Nooch. That's the vegan staple, brother.
Yeah, that's the vegan
I
crack.
put that on everything. I put it on everything.
Mine is very well supplemented as well. It has like the whole
Fortified.
gamut of shit in it.
Yeah.
Yep. What are you cooking, Felix?
Can you guys make your own cheeses?
Felix cooking beyond means.
Yummy.
Yeah, with some mushrooms. Do I make my own cheeses sometimes just out of curiosity? There is like a really, really good like vegan pizza cheese that I found.
Like a mozzarella?
No, it's like it's very simple as well. I just put some soy protein, a little bit of water, some oil, a little bit of nooch, and I think like a garlic powder or something like that. And you mix it around. It's liquid, and you put it on a dough or whatever you want. Frankly, put it in the oven, and it comes out really, really tasty, like as a pizza cheese. But other than that, I just don't feel like I need it really, because I was never like really a cheese person. So I do it out of like culinary curiosity, and usually it comes out absolutely shit, frankly.
Nah, there you go. I've been cultivating my cheese skills. I like cheese.
Oh,
but I don't like the store-bought stuff as much. It's never as good as the homemade stuff.
Well, I prefer the real life stuff over anything I ever made, frankly.
Yeah. I'm more of a cheese snob, so that's why.
Yeah, I'm trash when it comes to cheese. I really don't care.
Fair enough.
I think I'm gonna bounce as well soon, in a little bit, like in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'll probably be on about 20 or so.
Yeah. Looks good though, fam.
So I actually made the Thai style coconut curry from the Challenge 22. Like evident. And I would say it was really good. The only thing that was weird was the tofu just kind of like completely fell to pieces, and it was like.
Oh,
like all
you
mussed up.
might have used the wrong tofu, because tofus have like there are different. So a silken tofu you shouldn't use in a thing like a stew or a curry.
Yeah, you want firm.
Yeah, you want firm or extra firm tofu. Silken tofu is better for making like.
Are you talking about this?
sauces.
Like it was like soaked, right?
Yeah, well, it depends. So the
I was like I like tried to like drain all the moisture out of it, but it came like wet.
Yeah, you wanna get the firm, but then also something I do as a little tip is I like bake it a little bit before I'm putting it in something like that, just to firm it up even more.
Yeah.
Okay, right. How did you bake it? Just put it in the oven for like what, like 10 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, I eyeball it, but yeah, just put it in for a little bit and just kind of see. You'll see it like start to get a little bit of a browning. It dries out some of the moisture and kind of hards it a little bit, but you don't want to do it too much, right? But just a bit.
Look. This is the block.
Oh yeah, that's much more. See, mine was like from the packet, and it was like too.
Yeah, you didn't get firm types. You probably got.
Okay. So I was like, it's so hard. Honestly, like when you're going vegan, just going through the shops trying to find your ingredients is like mission impossible. It's just.
Yeah, you learn.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, do you have an Instapot?
Instapot. What do you mean?
Yeah, like a pressure cooker.
No, I have like a slow cooker.
Slow cooker? You might be able to do it with a slow cooker. I have. Have you ever had a split pea stew?
No, we made like borscht. We made like Ukrainian borscht the other day. It was like vegetarian / vegan.
I'm gonna send you a split pea stew recipe. It's so healthy and yummy and hearty that I it's like one of the stews. Like.
Okay, thank you.
Is anybody else who's not vegan in here, wants to have a conversation?
My cat, but he can't say anything.
Yeah. Listen, we'll move on to talking to animals about it as well, like to end predation in nature or something like that. But for now, we concentrate on humans, whom we can hopefully reason with, although it does become hard sometimes.
Yo, Post, all we gotta do is teach animals a sign language, and then we teach them.
Now, or we can just drop food on them and then they stop killing each other like crazy maniacs.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the same logic, right? If we want to get to a vegan world, the first thing we gotta do is put our own air masks on, and then we can talk about the next steps.
Yeah.
I feel like people coming in and talking about how bacteria needs love too is just. There's just pure trolling. It's just pure bullshit. I don't know.
Well, it's not trolling, I would say. I would say it's coping. They're coping with the fact that they know it's immoral to
it's
kill
like
animals.
Making this weird argument, well, oh my god, but you're hurting plants. And it's like, look, you need to just, it's just weird. Yeah. It's just a coping mechanism. Definitely.
I agree. Right, guys, I think I'm gonna bounce. See you later. Yeah. So, right. Where are we? That's fine. So, guys, I'm a little exhausted. I'm also a little demotivated because I had a goal. No, I can't take naps. Nap time for you. Yeah, go do your nap. So I don't know. I'm a little demotivated. I'm a little tired. So I don't know if I'll do the Friday stream of activism. I just might do something else. I will definitely start releasing the best of streams at some point. I'm gonna edit out a little bit of the streams for you to enjoy the array of the things. What else? I don't know. One thing I would ask, guys, if you want to see more of this, please consider going to my past streams that you haven't seen yet and watching those. That would actually help. That's actually one of the reasons that I became kind of a little demotivated, because the primary reason why I go to Discord outreach, right, is to outreach to people. That's why I go to Discord outreach. The reason that I stream those is because I wanted to like bump my channel, to actually do something with this pretty dead channel. And I found out that live streams don't incredibly contribute to that, that videos are the thing that I should be focusing on. But I don't want to end Discord outreach. So it would help me out if you go watch a past live stream or something, because it would add to like watch hours, and YouTube would think that I'm actually doing something with this channel. That would start considering pushing it out. Yeah, that's it. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Chip, for doing outreach with us. Yeah, see you next time.